This episode of the AFTN Soccer Show is brought to you by Recovery Family Law. Recovery Family Law is here to help you solve your family law problems. If you are going through a separation or divorce, they can provide you the confidence to make good decisions and support to enforce your rights. If you have a question about property, children or support, they have the answers. It's not too late or too early to get help. Email info@recoveryfamilylaw.ca or visit recoveryfamilylaw.ca and let their team get you excellent results.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. They support us. Go and support them and go and see them for all your family legal needs. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhammer.
And we've got another packed podcast for you this week because the games are coming thick and fast for the Whitecaps. We'll talk about the two matches this week. We won't delve fully into both of the games, but I want to look at what happened. Want to also kind of see what needs fixed for the Whitecaps just now because things don't seem totally firing on all cylinders. We'll also round up the action, not just in MLS West. I want to look at a couple of games in MLS East involving the other two Canadian teams, which were crazy for different reasons. We'll also look at the CPL, give a quick roundup of the weekend's action, and some controversy that happened this week surrounding one of the CPL clubs based here in the Lower Mainland. So we'll get into all of that over the course of the show. Before we get into that though, Zach, how was your week? Last week, I spoke about stoppage time heartbreak, and we'll fully get into that in part 3, but I felt for you watching that Champions League game.
There's this notion in football that we thought, okay, with VAR, referees can no longer screw you the way they used to.
Apparently they can if they blow the whistle.
There was a double reminder in that game of how they still can.
Yeah. VAR. I mean, I've seen a few games this weekend where I'm not a fan of the lines, as I've spoke about regularly in the show, but there's certainly been a couple of games I've watched this weekend where lines would have been very helpful for some offside decisions, and camera angles just don't make things clear and obvious. I've spoke before, I don't like the fact that linesmen either don't put their flag up, or if they put it up too early and then a referee blows and it affects things as well. The game's becoming a bit of a mess.
Well, but I mean, what happened on Wednesday was simply two errors back to back, like in almost a split second, that are both horrific. And I mean, my friend said, my Bayern friend said to me, they're like, as soon as we were through and as soon as Real went through, they're like, oh no, how are we going to get screwed by the officials in this? And I was like, oh no, come on, like VAR makes it, virtually impossible for that to happen anymore. And they're like, no, we have bad memories, and Madrid always gets calls. And I was like, no, guys, like, come on, come on. You have this play at the end of the game where the referee's assistant, they're told not to raise their flag early anymore.
Yeah.
They're told to let the play develop, and then you can raise it later. Well, the ref, for some bloody reason, the referee's assistant raises his flag immediately. Referees are told to let play go, so then if something happens, they can go back and look at it later. For some bloody reason, the referee decides to blow his whistle.
Because as soon as that's blown, like the other team can say, well, you blew, so we stopped.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's fair, but it's like you've got to be 100% sure that is offside.
And now with the
in the semi-final stoppage time of Champions League.
And now with the technology, you don't need to. It's there to support you to make sure you don't screw things up. And I don't know if you've seen this, Michael, but after the match, the assistant referee apologized to Matthias.
No.
Yeah. He apologized. I don't know if it was to De Ligt or to Thomas Muller, and said, I'm sorry. I screwed that up. So this is not this is not even like it's not even a questionable thing. And I know I've listened to some people talk about, Bayern fans are going on about how they were unlucky. This has bloody nothing to do with luck. What happened?
And you're angry because you said bloody 3 times and you never say bloody.
There's absolutely nothing to do with luck. Bayern, if a Bayern fan is using the term luck, they're misusing the word. Okay, there's nothing about luck that happened at the end of that game. Okay, it was. I haven't been that angry about officiating in a long time. I do want to say a couple of things. I know we're going to maybe talk about this later. Let's just get this.
I may as well just talk about it now. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Look, had Matthias de Ligt's goal not been, the whistle been blown as it was happening, and the game had been tied and gone into extra time, it's likely that Real Madrid would probably have gone on to overcome Bayern based on who was on the pitch. Okay, or let's just put it this way: they could have won in extra time. They could have won in a shootout, whatever, right? But that should have been allowed to happen. Okay, like I don't mind losing when it's fair. That was not a fair victory. Like there's no one who can say, "Oh yeah, it was totally fair and legit." And I also want to say for some people who, on a totally separate issue, some people are talking about how Thomas Tuchel is, a genius and whatever. He showed in this match, one in his the players he sent out and how he sent them out, that he's not a genius, and then his subbing in that game, which also again proved problems otherwise. 15 minutes left, just bringing subbing off players and going ultra defensive.
Yeah, he basically brought players on to see the game out.
It was almost like he didn't watch the game the night before when Dortmund did the same thing, and PSG just came at them and came at them and came at them, and Dortmund were, I think Paris Saint-Germain hit like every part of the woodwork multiple times. Like it showed that Thomas Tuchel, I mean, Thomas Tuchel's biggest problem isn't his tactical awareness, it's his man management. Like he's horrible at dealing with the people, and that's why he won't be at Bayern anymore. But anyways, very frustrating. And I just also want to say this. I say, I'm sure there's some people listening to this who do follow Bayern or do follow the Bundesliga. Our friend Ian, of course, follows Werder Bremen. There's others who listen to this. I ran into a guy today who, lived in Berlin and went to Union games for years. But I know they're saying, look, Zach, what you're saying is ironic, and I do appreciate that. Bayern Munich is the big fish in Germany and does get those kind of dodgy calls more than any other club in the Bundesliga or in the Pokal or whatever. So I get that it's ironic that now Bayern fans are saying, look, the big fish who always gets all the calls in Europe screwed us, or the officials screwed us, whether intentional, scandalous, or accidental or whatever. It is ironic. I hold my hat up and say yes. Bayern has gotten way more calls than they probably deserve in the league, especially pre-VAR. they got screwed this time, and they got the short end of the stick. And I know some people are like, good for them, right? I
Yeah.
appreciate that there's those who have that opinion.
If
But
it had been a team that wasn't Real Madrid, I'd have been like, haha. No, I don't think there's any way that anyone feels that was fair. I don't think it was malicious or intentional. I think it was just they totally messed up. And it's like interesting that they've apologised after. One last thing we'll say about this then. A positive was Fonzie's goal was a beauty.
Wow. What a brilliant.
As soon as he scored it, I was like, oh, Real Madrid won't be happy if that's the winner.
I was not feeling well on Wednesday. I had a massive headache. And
I'm sure that did not help.
No, because I screamed. I screamed so loud. When he scored, I was just like, this is, I was just like, oh. And I've been saying to my buddy Mike, I've been saying, look, Alfonso's going to come in this series and do something because he's lost his spot under Tuchel.
That was his first Champions League goal, wasn't it?
Ever, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's going to be an interesting now to see what happens with him with this whole, I mean, there's another where Bayern's going to get screwed because Real Madrid's not going to pay his market value.
Yeah.
But he already has like a deal with them. And so they're just going to say, they're going to do what they do with Alaba, where they're going to say, okay, we're not going to pay 50 to 70 million that you want. Okay, we'll just get him next year for free. Because they do have a quality, speedy, good both ways left back in Mendy already. So even if they do want him for depth or for pushing him further up the field or whatever, I think they're just going to say, look, we're spending all our money this summer on Mbappe, or on his contract or whatever. We'll wait till next year. We'll get Fonzie for free, and then we can pay him. Maybe they pay him more or whatever.
Which you won't care about, but screws the Whitecaps over.
Well, yeah, I forgot about that. Yes, it would be very bad for the Whitecaps, and that's not how things usually happen at Bayern. Like the way Alaba left is not the way that things usually go down at Bayern, right?
Could they sell him to someone else though? I guess Fonzie would have to agree.
That's the problem, right? This is not MLS where you just say, hey, you're going here and suck it up. It's the player has to agree, and I think his heart is set on. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing by all the things I hear and read and listen to, his heart is set on Madrid. That's the place that's going to allow him to, like I said before in the show, it's not about him developing as a footballer, which it should be. It's about him being a bigger brand and being a bigger star and being more world renowned. I hope it also. Yeah,
I mean, you're looking Real, Barca, or the English Prem. It's where he's going to build that brand bigger because that's what's got the most eyeballs on it.
Yeah, and so I think Real's at the top of that list for like. I think it gives him the best opportunities for brand development and exposure and all that kind of stuff. I think even bigger than the Premier League.
Yeah,
like globally. I mean, maybe not in Canada or North America, but globally.
Yeah, probably. I would be interested to see. I guess Real Madrid is probably. I guess if he went to somewhere like Man United, that would maybe be on a par, not quality-wise on the pitch, but just like global brand.
Yeah, but that's why I think their brand. I don't know how much, but their brand suffers from their performance, right?
Yeah.
So they're not what they were
shouldn't
20
suck
years
forever.
ago.
No, but then
they
have sucked for a while.
20 years ago, you're right. No, yeah. If this was 20 years ago, you're bang on. Madrid or Manchester would probably be the only two that would kind of cut it, and you would probably say at that time Manchester would be bigger under Ferguson. And under Ferguson, I think he would develop.
Because in the 60s and 70s, Real was way bigger than Man United. 50 years ago, because we do our lots of 50 years ago, Man United got relegated from the first division 50 years ago this season. Yeah. And it was Dennis Law, the former player that scored the goal that relegated them, and he refused to celebrate and he was in tears. But that shows you his integrity. He didn't deliberately miss putting the ball in the net, even though it broke his heart by doing it. Yeah. Anyways, so
don't listen. Anyone who says that Bayern Munich was unlucky, it has nothing to do with bloody luck.
No, 4 bloodies now. If you're on bloody count. We don't have to mark it explicit until I drop the F-bombs, which might come up in part two.
Oh, I'm
But
sure. Well,
yeah, Fonzie going on a free would hit the Whitecaps hard.
I
Well,
totally forgot about that part.
that's all I care about.
Yeah.
What would hit the Whitecaps harder is if they go on a bit of a slump now, which some of their play has kind
Yes.
of indicated it might. So what we're going to look at in this part is we're going to look at the two games that the Whitecaps played this week. Different competitions, different results, different performances in a way, but the same concerns coming out of it. Then in the next part, we'll kind of look at some of the concerns coming out of the games and what maybe needs to happen, what needs strengthened, all that kind of stuff. But the action kicked off on Tuesday, Canadian Championship. I said last week I fancied a 1-1 draw. And then as the game played out, I was like, I was maybe being a little bit optimistic about that. But it's finished Whitecaps 2, Cavalry 1, which is probably closer than it should have. Cavalry certainly came back in the match and just went for it in the last 10 minutes and just got some reward with a goal. But there seemed a gulf, even though it wasn't a strong Whitecaps team out there. It was a lot of fringe guys that have obviously started, but it was a pretty disappointing first half, fairly decent second half, and then a disappointing ending. But ultimately, with the ridiculous away goals rule in play,
Yeah.
the Whitecaps have 2 away goals, so Cavalry need to come to BC Place in 2 weeks' time. Well, I guess now less than 2 weeks, but they have to come to BC Place and score at least twice and win by 2 goals to advance in the tie. Now, you might say, not going to happen, but remember, they did do that in 2019, albeit against a much different kind of Whitecaps. Before we get into the game, what did you make of the overall match in this one? Were you disappointed with the Whitecaps? Did it kind of go the way you expected?
I forgot about this, but Andre Opzumer at Dre Ops on Twitter tweeted out that I don't know if you remember this. He tweeted out Zachary AM got that one spot on for the score line. So you chose 1-1, and I didn't remember this, but I chose 2-1. Of course, my appropriate response was even a broken clock is right twice a day.
I don't even remember seeing that tweet. I must have missed that.
Yeah, I don't know if you were tagged in it.
Oh, that would be why then.
But oh yeah, no, you weren't. But so in one sense, I guess from what we were talking about pregame, I wasn't surprised with the result. But I mean, I don't disagree with you in that it could have been more for them. They could have been more comfortable for Vanny, and we know that Vanny, in talking about this, has talked literally about that, saying, look, if we do well in the first leg, it helps us, because he's like, we're going to rotate in this first leg, and if these players take the chance given to them, then it means maybe in the second leg, almost like they can get more time, right?
Yeah, and it hasn't worked out that way. And if
No.
anything, it actually just makes you question some of the depth that the Whitecaps have.
Certainly had their say in this game, and will probably.
Hey, are you watching One Soccer again?
And the problem with my new phone is, even though I have things to not have the sound on, it seems to just keep playing stuff.
Oh, when
Caitlin's phone is doing the same.
When I do this, Michael, yeah, when you turn the sound off on the side, that only is like your ringer. So I always turn the volume down as well when we're doing the show.
I think I now will as well.
But it does cause them problems. I found it interesting on the night that essentially it was taking advantage of a couple opportunities, a couple of misplays, and finishing really, really well. That gave them those 2 away goals, and then they give up the one to Cavs, which makes it at least a contest in the second one. Cavs didn't. I don't know. I felt like Cavs didn't offer as much as I thought they would
No, I was
going
quite
forward.
disappointed in them. But yeah, Cavalry were a bit disappointing. Like, I mean, the whole first half was pretty disappointing. Cavalry had the first chance, which was when Priso did a back pass that went wide.
Yes, yes, that was. Yeah, it was almost one of those shoot yourself in the foot moments.
Yeah, but that kind of summed up the performance I thought Priso had, who I felt was absolutely dreadful in this game. And I have to, I was questioning, what do the Whitecaps see in him? To which someone replied, his passport.
Yeah, well, in this game, it helps.
Yeah, if he wasn't Canadian, I cannot see the Whitecaps being interested in him.
So you had him, you had a Bomer, you had Raposo, Ali, of course, started.
Yeah, Berhalter was in.
Bearholder's not
Because
Canadian, though.
we knew Kubis was going to. Oh, sorry, you're just talking about the Canadians. Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, they had four.
Because you only have to play three.
No,
So,
five.
yeah, we had five. So it
They had
was
five?
Levante,
Yeah,
Raposo, Priso, Ali, and Bomer. So
yeah.
we
Okay.
ticked that one. No problem at all. A rare
Which
Javane Brown
also
start.
kudos to Vanny for playing more Canadians because, yeah, one, he doesn't have to, um, but also we've talked about this in the past. I think the competition actually should raise the level of the number of Canadians, personally.
Yeah,
But so kudos to Vanny for playing, half of his, almost half of his starting 11.
partly kudos, but also it did affect the quality of the team by playing Canadians.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, the other chance, like, I only wrote three things down for the first half, and one was a Montgomery header from a free kick at the back of the box that
Yeah.
he just didn't fully connect on. But then the opening goal came in stoppage time of the first half, and it was a thing of beauty from Levante Johnson. Now, when I saw Johnson getting the start in this, I thought that this is huge for him because I feel he hasn't pushed on the way I was hoping he was going to. And in his fleeting sub appearances in MLS, he's run around a lot and he's caused problems, but without really looking like he was going to score. So I thought that this is a mark of what his level is. Is he a good option for the Whitecaps off the bench this year? And he got a pair of goals, which you may say shows, yeah, if he was in the CPL, he'd be lighting it up just now. Is he as good against MLS defences? We would maybe need to see him start some games, which I think we will down this stretch, just with games every Saturday, Wednesday, or Tuesday in this case. I think he's going to get a start sooner or later in an MLS game.
Yeah.
But that goal to open the scoring, whoa,
The goal was interesting because I think it was Laborda with just a long ball.
yeah,
It was a quick long ball forward off of a restart, and then Montgomery just headed it out, tried to head it out or whatever, but it went right to Johnson. Now Montgomery was playing. I think he's kind of just worked his way back from injury, if I'm not mistaken. But he was playing because Field got injured in their league
yes,
game against Vancouver FC
yeah,
a
it
few
was
days
it looked
before.
a bad one.
Yeah, and so I don't if Field's fully fit, I think Field would have been in that spot for Montgomery. That's neither here nor there. But anyways, you're right. Levante collects it and just smashes it. It's one of the goals of the tournament so far. Off
It's
the
going to
far
be up
post
there
and
for
in.
Whitecaps Goal of the Year, I think, in our
Oh
end of
yeah,
year awards as well.
it was brilliant, and he celebrated like he meant it. I mean, he didn't mean it, but you know what I mean. Like he celebrated like you should, like big, not a big time Charlie, but you know what I mean. Like it was a lot of confidence and charisma in his celebration, which was I think also nice to see because I think he was also standing in front of the foot soldiers.
Yes. But I mean, that was it for the first half. Second half, like
Yeah.
Ali Ahmed crashed one off the bar. Brooks had a couple of headers that came close for Cavalry. But then Levante makes it 2-0, 79th minute. Long ball. Again, just poor
Oh, yeah.
defensive play by Cavalry. But a very cool finish there.
Again, it was Field, wasn't it?
No, Montgomery.
Oh,
Field
sorry,
wasn't
Montgomery. Yeah,
playing.
Montgomery. Yeah, sorry, Montgomery. That's what I
You're
meant.
thinking of Field Marshal Montgomery.
Yeah.
That's what.
So again, Montgomery with a significant error, significant whiff
Yeah.
on playing the ball. But again, you can't blame Levante. He's there, and yeah, he's clinical. That's what he's there to do.
And like at 2-0, you're thinking, okay, that's fine. It'll be a fairly comfortable second leg. I
Yeah.
was thinking, oh man, the crowd's going to be horrendous for this second leg
Mm.
because it's pretty much done and dusted. I don't think it's going to be that much better, even though it's a bit closer now. But Cavalry have made it interesting. 3 minutes into stoppage time, Malcolm Shaw gets onto a through ball, finishes from a tight angle. Good pass from Diaz to set everything up. But horrible Whitecaps defending in this.
I did not like Diaz in the two games where I saw him play live. I don't know what it was. I just didn't like him. I don't know if it was his fouling, his play. I don't know. I just didn't like him.
There's a
But the
lot of
pass,
theatrics from him.
yes, the pass he maybe some fouls he had, I guess. But the pass there, you're right, is was great vision, right? He sees the run, he sees the space. Shaw runs into it. Uh, what did you not like about the defense? Just they didn't follow the run, they didn't cut out the pass. Like
I
the
don't
pass,
just let him get the shot off. I like
I thought.
Bomer as well. Maybe could have been a bit stronger on it, but that's maybe just me being harsh. I just thought it was poor defending to let that shot
Hmm,
come in from that tight an angle.
yeah, okay,
But it's made it interesting, which
yeah,
is at least good because, well, it's good from a spectacle point of view, but it's not great from a Whitecaps perspective of trying to maybe give the fringe players more minutes because I think some of them are needing more minutes because I think we really need to seriously have a look at some of these guys as to do we want them around? Are they what we need? Do we need to improve on them? And I'm pretty sure it's the latter, but we'll get into that in the next part.
Well, but I just want to say, as much as is going on about Field being injured and not being a part of this, I don't know that he'll be back for the second leg. But there are two players that were missing. One will be um, one will be definitely back in the next leg. The other one, I guess Cavs are hoping, and that is I think Shamit Shone, right? He got sent off against Vancouver, so was serving a one-match ban, and Ali Musi.
Yeah,
So I think there's potential for, obviously they're going to come at the match wanting to, get the two goals they need. But I also think they're going to have better options to create more opportunities to do that, which Vanny and his staff will have to prepare for.
but I am curious what kind of game plan Cavalry will have because they went to Halifax this weekend and basically both teams just seem to kick the shit out of each other in that
Yes.
game. So will they try and mix it up? Will they try and get physical? If I was Tommy, that's what my plan would be to come to BC Place, mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. And Tommy, like he prepared, like, I got to connect with him on those two Vancouver FC games. They prepare well, right? Like they prepare for teams well because as who was it? Charlie Trafford talked about after the league game where he scored a goal. He talked about how in the CPL context, because they are known for being so strong, their roster strong, they team when teams come there, teams tend to try different things to stop them. And so they're very used to like adapting to different styles, different
Mm.
formations, different things. And so, yeah, I think going to Vancouver, like obviously they're the ones who are looking maybe to mix things up a little bit more, but I think their adaptability, I think, is something that Tommy values and knows that his team can go there and can cause at least some problems. I'd be shocked if they can pull like a 2-0 win or a 3-1 win and actually go through. But I think, regardless of how many people decide to go to the game, Michael, I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, and I hope it is just from a spectacle point of view. But I do think it is not going to be a fantastic crowd. But we'll
Right.
see.
But if you're listening to this and you're on the fence about going or planning on not going, and you can go, you should go. A lot of these Voyageurs Cup Canadian Championship games have been really great, despite a lower crowd or a midweek crowd or whatever. You don't want to miss out on them.
Well, just a reminder to everyone as well that the semi-finals will be drawn, so it's not already been set as to who the Whitecaps would play if they advance as well. So with that in mind,
is that single? Is that one single?
No, it's two legs
that's
as
home
well.
right, yeah, just the final single.
Yeah, and the weird thing is the first legs in July,
second legs in
around
August.
July 9th and 10th, and then you've got to wait a whole month for the second leg.
Yeah,
it's another thing that I'm not liking about the competition.
Well, the MLS teams could have drastically changed in that time frame.
Very much so, with the window being open. With all that in mind, just to look at how the other kind of quarterfinals did play out. Now, if we talk about crowds, there was a great crowd, 14,923 in Hamilton for the morning game between Forge and Montreal. And that was on Tuesday as well. And there'd been a lot of complaints from the Forge fans that were working, they couldn't get to the game. But it was a good turnout, it was a good atmosphere. And I think in the long run, it has probably done well for Forge. But I can see why you'd be pissed off that was the game. But that was meant to be a game against Halifax. So it was kind of had already been set that was going to be like the morning kickoff. So it's an intriguing thing to do. I hope it doesn't become commonplace because it isn't easy for everyone to get time off work. But Forge took the lead in this one. Montreal tied it up in the second. It's delicately poised at 1-1. Now Montreal obviously have the away goal. Forge were the better team by far in the first half. Montreal with a better team by far in the second half, so it's very delicately poised.
Yeah, I agree with you. This was a great initiative. I know they were planning on it, or I can't remember if they did it last year for a game.
They did.
Yeah. So I like this. I think this is something that maybe more teams in the CPL should look at doing. I'm trying to think about depending on where your stadium. Maybe it doesn't work for Cavalry. I don't know. Where your stadium's located.
Yeah, it's weird though to do it for the Canadian Championship. But I guess maybe they're thinking we don't usually get much decent crowds for that anyway. It's all much for muchness, so they just kept the date the same.
Oh, exactly. And if you look at what they would usually get for a game like that and what they got, I think they probably ended up having more people there, right? So
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. I think it's really great. The game, you're right. I thought I was excited for Forge to press them even more and maybe get even more out of that. But again, like the Whitecaps versus Cavs, the second leg is like incredibly intriguing. And
well, yeah, because Montreal have to put a strong team out.
Yeah, they can't.
And if Forge had just managed to go there with the lead, that would even be more. That away goal still looms large. So, I mean, Forge are going to have to score there no matter what. But they certainly showed in that first half that they can test Montreal. I didn't watch any of the Ottawa Pacific game because I knew it was 0-0. It sounded crap. The crowd was under 2,000. And, yeah, disappointing. But moving on to the last game, which everyone was intrigued by. And CS Saint Laurent, huge plaudits go out to them in many ways. First of all, they brought in a crowd of 6,482. Mm-hmm. They held out for 50 minutes against not a full-strength TFC side, but a strong still TFC side and a strong MLS fringe team. And TFC had to bring on their big guns in the second half. And there was the controversial incident where CS Saint Laurent clearly would have had a penalty if VAR had been in place. That was a clear handball.
I concur.
Considering the Whitecaps had just been hit at the weekend for a similar handball when the ball hit Fafa Pico, when they then scored from it, it was the exact same thing, but it had hit the defender's hand. It was a penalty.
No call, no stoppage of play, and goes up the other end, and Toronto
and
scores.
score and get the
That
second.
was that was Kerr's, right?
Yeah, that made it 2-0. Now, I'm not saying that they would have held on because they were
No.
tiring.
Yeah.
But like that first half performance was amazing. The
Yeah.
crowd was amazing. And to
Yes.
eventually lose 3-0, and one of the goals came from Bernadeschi, a guy that's played at the World Cup. I
Yeah.
mean, that just shows you what that performance was. And the second leg should be a formality, but they're going to go, they're going to have fun. They have nothing to lose, and they're just going to take the game to them.
Yeah. Did you see their they had their ultras there and
Yeah,
flaring?
the
It was
atmosphere
quite
was
nice. Yeah.
amazing. Now, afterwards, the next day they had made a tweet at the CPL going, "Hello, we're here.
Yeah.
CPL basically come to Quebec," which I liked, but I saw some comments on one of the Discord channels. Uh, and this is one of the things that is wrong and broken in North American soccer, and we talked about it last week, is I'm going to use the F word that I don't
Oh,
like using.
I know this one.
Franchise fees, expansion fees. It's prohibitive for existing clubs. We talked about this last week, like CS Saint Laurent, TSS Rovers, Simcoe, Vaughan, whoever you want to look at from League One, that have a fan base, that have a structure. In CS Saint Laurent's case, they've got a pathway. They've got youth teams from very early age all the way into League One. And folk on Discord were saying, sure, join the CPL, just pony up the money.
Yeah.
And
I
I see that. And yet I know you need to have a stable league. But this is a club that deserves to be at the higher level because they do everything else right. It's just they haven't got the money. And it's like Simcoe and Vaughan and TSS in that regard.
I don't think we want to have a longer conversation about this right now, but I in one sense I don't disagree with you, Michael, but this is the model here is taking the MLS model,
Mm-hmm.
taking the good parts of it and leaving the bad parts of it, essentially, was what the CPL has tried to do. And one of the elements of that is expansion fees playing a massive role, right? So, and then of course, once you're in, then you get the
You
benefit of
benefit
future.
from it, yeah. And
Yes.
that's all wrong. It's wrong in MLS. It's wrong in every single sense to me.
So
It's what has thwarted the game here, and
I
why
also
we haven't got more CPL teams.
I don't know the actual number, but I also think though, Michael, that I think where things are still at, um, with the expansion fees, I don't think they're like it's crazy more than what the original people put in, right? Like we're not talking, it's not exponentially more than what the first owners put in. Is it more? Yeah, my understanding is it's more. But how much more? I don't know, right? So again,
But we're
it's
still talking double-digit millions, aren't we?
for expansion.
Yeah.
I again, okay, let's just say I don't know anything factually. So I this is speculation or listening to different things or whatever. But I seem to remember at one point the conversation was for it was like 7 to 10 million.
See, I had 10 to 12 in my head
Okay.
that I
I had
had
never
heard from somewhere.
I don't think I've ever heard that high or ever imagined that high. Um or speculated that high. So I think it's still in that, but you're right, it could be 10 to 12. I don't know. But the original owners, what they put in plus what they've, already lost, I wouldn't say is that probably that far from those amounts. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So in one sense, it is about growing the game. The other thing I would say is this, and we've had this conversation. This has been a part of our conversation about CPL all along, and I attributed to I remember the conversations when all this was happening. For me, it was Jeff Tinker who always said, look, the best way to do this is not top down; it's bottom up, right? And so you start a Div 3 and work towards a
Hmm.
second division and a first division where then it's a different story for the Thunder Bay Chills and the Foothills and the TSSs and all these clubs, these CSA Laurent, whatever, Vaughn, Simcoe, whoever. Obviously, some of these clubs I recognize are newer or have changed since that time. When those original conversations happening, but you grow from the bottom up, and I think that would have been amazing if it um, if it had gone that way. But the financial realities um, and the amount of time it would take to do it that way, I think were prohibitive.
The cost of travel in this country is also so much that it makes it prohibitive, I think, for teams to pay expansion fees and then have to run a club over the season, because we know the CPL owners are losing money.
Well, that's why to do this at this level, you need investors. The only reason the CPL isn't in Quebec yet is not because there's not people who think it should be there, or they talked about it like Alex Bunbury. It's because there hasn't been anyone who's had the money to make it financially viable, in the short/long term, right? So
because of the expansion fees. No expansion fees, you'd have someone putting up money for a club to run. I would feel.
But like I said, I don't think that and I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm running this, but I don't think what the expansion fees are that much different than what the other people already paid to start the league and run their clubs.
I know, but I don't think they should have had to have paid expansion fees either. That's the thing. But the fact is that it's here, and that's what's prohibitive, because they're not going to stop it, because the existing owners aren't going to be like, yeah, we'll just bite that.
No, but I think, Michael, it's more about putting into a pot, a shared pot, right? So you're putting in something, and therefore in the long run, you'll get back from that pot. So I don't think it's unreasonable for them to say, to be a part of the pot, you have to put into the pot, right?
But if there wasn't a pot, you'd have more people, you'd have more teams, and then the league would be viewed a lot differently.
Right. So essentially what you're saying is the collective ownership structure is what you don't like.
Yes.
Right. And that's fair. That's a fair criticism.
Someone owning two teams, I don't like either, but that's a whole other thing that we won't get into. There's also been lots of rumours that MLS are wanting to start a Division 2, an MLS 2, which will hit into like USL, and teams will be like, oh, because, I mean, the dream is you have an MLS 2 and then that leads to like promotion relegation. I don't know that will ever happen, because it doesn't happen at the moment in USL, but it's something that I think is on the horizon. They've looked at it, that there could be promotion between Division 1 and the Championship. At least they've had talks. But if there's an MLS Division 2, it just keeps all this stuff going on. And we know we want a CPL Division 2. Again, whether that operates between like promotion relegation, what happens if a team like, say, Valor, who's already in money trouble, got relegated? That would be the end of them. They're not going to come back because they're not making money now. They're not going to make money in a second tier. That's got completely sidetracked from what I was wanting to talk about in this part, but it's just something that it's just annoyed me so much watching them. Everyone knows there needs to be a CPL team in Quebec, so hopefully someone will put the money up and we can get to that stage in 2025. As you know, I could go on and on this subject for hours on the podcast, but we'll draw a line under it for now. And let's turn our attention now to the Whitecaps in Major League Soccer business. And we'll be back chatting about that after this.
Hey, it's Levante Johnson. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Blue sky, green, green field, birds are singing. Red eyes are watching me from the forest. It is a sunny and beautiful day. I woke up in tears running down my face. Another night passed and I had a bad dream. The sun is so hot it can burn up my skin. And in my goosebumps, the blue chilla.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. And kicking off this part, it's perennial favourites here at AFTN from Russia, Ice Peak. And that is their new single, Crack in the Ground. And there's certainly been some cracks in the Whitecaps ground, never mind some other places throughout the team. But we're going to continue our Whitecaps chat now by turning our attention to Major League Soccer and the Whitecaps. It had to happen sometime, but they finally lost their unbeaten record on the road. I headed into this LA game, despite the Whitecaps being unbeaten on the road, not expecting much from it. And boy, were my expectations met.
It was a difficult one.
This was a horrible game. I mean, Vanny himself post-game said that for the first time this season, that was a performance that was way below their standards that they've set themselves. I don't know what it was. They just did not feel at the races in this from the start. And we've seen in some of the other games, even the home games, they kind of give the first 10 minutes to the opposition and then they come into it. We've spoken about that all season long. Well, in the first 10 minutes of this one, Takaoka had to make a couple of saves.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, this is like one-way traffic. Then in the 12th minute, you had to make another save. But then the Whitecaps started, you felt, to maybe find their feet. And Fafa had a really fierce shot that Lloris did well to turn away. And you're like, okay, this could be an end-to-end game. This could be a good one. It might live up a little bit to some of the other performances that they've had down there. But then LAFC flicked the switch and Buanga brought another save out of Takaoka. But then the 18th minute, first goal went in. And as soon as that went in, I was like, oh, I felt it was an uphill task from that point. I mean, we'll talk about that first goal. In fact, before we get into it, let's mention Denis Buanga.
Oh.
Cap killer. This time, not by scoring goals, but with a hat-trick of assists. And he was outstanding for LAFC in this game.
Yes. They are so dangerous in how they don't even have a great center forward, right? They have these two wide guys who are just so great at penetrating, finding space, crossing, and finishing that they don't even need a super quality center forward at the moment. And of course, the word on the street is that they're going to resolve that center forward. I mean, Kai Kamara is there. But they're going to upgrade it with players like Olivier Giroud, and even possibly Antoine Griezmann is being talked about, which sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, Buanga is just absolutely lethal. And whether it's scoring, whether it's creating, the first goal, 18 minutes in, it's a quick breakaway. Buanga's got the ball, and there's 3-4 Whitecaps around him, and he still gets in a pinpoint cross. And for me, this is one of the things I was talking about. I think if lines were drawn, this may have been offside. It was borderline for me. It was hard to tell on the pitch.
No. Let's talk about it. Yeah, it did. It looked... Whitecaps fans have a right to be felt maybe hard done by, and this is one where you need that technology, I think, to actually show it, because the stupid camera angle's on an angle. So you can't even tell normally. So you need the best technology of VAR in the world to make absolutely sure about plays like that. And actually, both goals had a hint of that. The first one far more than the second, obviously.
Yeah, second one I was more comfortable with that he was on. But I mean, both those goals, the first and the second, the delivery from Buanga, it was just pinpoint accuracy. And
okay.
For the first one, the big disappointment from me marking wise is Blackman just let him get goal side. The second one, Blackman just gets drawn into the middle And like Oliveira's like wide open at the back, and Ali's trying to get back but didn't get back in time, and he's just got the easiest job to tap it in the back of the net.
Yeah. Question for you, Michael. And I can't remember how they actually sort of talked about it on the broadcast, but do you think, like, was it just in the game? Do you think it was in their game plan? Do you think they were exposing something in Takaoka's game?
Well, I was going to mention, I listened to it on TSN,
Yeah, same.
and Stephen Caldwell seemed to really have it in for Takaoka. He was highly critical of him throughout the game. And the second goal, he should have done better at that. So I don't
Oh,
know,
yeah.
because Caldwell kept pointing out Takaoka's not good at crosses. And
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, he comes out well and collects them. But what I'm thinking, looking back at it, is he is right in terms of low crosses. There's been a couple of times I can think of off the top of my head where he goes down but just doesn't get the ball. And the ball goes by him, and there's a player at the back that just puts in the back of the net. And that second goal was most definitely that. I definitely
Yeah.
think Takaoka should have got a hand to that. Now, he might have directed it into traffic, and it might still have been tucked away, but there was 3 Whitecaps players that would likely have got to a rebound before an LAFC player.
Yeah.
The first one, I can't have too much fault, I don't think, for Taka on it. But again, actually just watching it back, no, he probably should have got to that one as well.
It does look like is this a weakness in his game, right? And honestly, because of the way it happened in the game, like I said, I was just like, is this something LAFC has analyzed and has chosen to attack intentionally, like as a part of their like preparation? I believe Mark does a lot of the
Yeah, because you saw
prep.
some shots of him looking at the tactics like during the game and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm just watching the first one back again, and yeah, Takaoka should have come out and got a hand to that. I don't know if he felt it was going to come to Blackman, but the speed that that ball was coming in, the danger was if it hit Blackman, it was going to go in as an own
Right.
goal.
Yeah.
So if Blackman, although I feel Blackman's at fault for letting Oliveira get goal side off him, if Blackman tried to stick a foot or anything out, that was in the back of the net anyway.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
But the second one, definitely Takaoka should have got a hand to. And it's interesting, both of them came in from the left-hand side. So maybe that is a weakness that they've seen, that balls that come in from the left, he can't deal with, because the third one was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Now, that's not taking anything away from Buanga, who sent in 3
No.
perfect crosses. But the third goal from Bogusz in the 57th minute, he should have kept that one out as well. Or at least got a touch on it.
Yes. And Bogusz is the one who's like the center forward or false 9 or whatever, right? For them at the moment, or
Yeah.
he was this game or whatever. It'll be interesting to see the next time these sides play, which I can't remember if that's the Leagues Cup or if it comes before then. Kind of how LAFC approaches it, and do they focus on that kind of as well, that penetrating crosses from the left.
Well, with the third goal, even if Bogusz had missed it, there was another player coming in behind him that would have
True.
got onto it and put it into the empty net. But if Takaoka's going to come out and dive at the ball like that, he has to get something on it. Whether it ends up there's been a couple of times he's dived and tipped it in to play, and then it's been put away. But that is an interesting thing to watch. Is it crosses that come in from that left side that he is struggling with? Is that a weakness, as you say, that LA identified?
He still also struggles with that sort of smirk after he gets scored on,
Yeah,
which
he
maybe
did
that's
that after the third one, and I thought,
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll mention that on the show.
Yeah, and so maybe just a cultural thing, a personality thing, or whatever. Maybe
Yeah, I
something
think it is.
shouldn't maybe even care about, but it just never.
I know,
looks-
it's something that annoys me as well. But I mean, there'd been so much talk about he was jointly doing in MLS with 4 clean sheets going into this game. The Whitecaps, we've spoken about how much better defensively they've been this season. And you looked at the starting lineup, And I was like, I think that's probably our strongest starting lineup.
of available players, right? But at least Sam would. If
Yeah,
Sam's
yeah.
fit,
Sam would probably come in for Ryan, but that would maybe
yeah.
be the only change I would make to that starting 11. There's questions as to whether Utvik should be the starter at the back. On form this season, I would still probably prefer Laborda, Ranko, and Utvik as my back three.
Fair.
I don't know that Vanny sees that as the strongest. So I think he put out from the players available his best 11 to start the game.
Yeah.
And that's what is a concern for me as to that's then how it played out. Now, everyone has a bad day at work. Maybe we can put this down to a bad day at the office. I don't know.
The Bogusz thing, I think I remember didn't Bogusz get a yellow card for he rounded?
Yeah, he rounded Takaoka and then went down. And it was a dive. It was
Yeah.
the right decision. It was good refereeing.
That's what
It would even if it had been given as a penalty, it would have been overturned on VAR. But yeah. But he was dangerous. He had a couple of looks at goal, but it was a good finish. So it was 3-0, not 5-0. LAFC sent out their post-game release saying LAFC in 5-0 win over Whitecaps. So unless there was 2 goals I fell asleep and missed, I'm not quite sure what game they were watching.
The crowd, the attendance said 22,000, right?
Yeah.
That's sold out, right, for that venue?
Yeah, it felt sold out.
There's still some empty seats there, but it's a ruckus.
Yeah.
Good time in there.
Yeah, and hopefully I will get down to a
you
game
need to.
there. But this is the team that seems to be the bogey team for the Whitecaps. We've had a couple of thrashings down there. We've turned things around and we've had better performances. And I've seen a few folk make this comment online. This is kind of the team that needs to be the measuring point for the Whitecaps. Yeah. And when we can go toe-to-toe with them on a regular basis, not just the odd game, but on a regular, every game, it's a close, it could go either way. That's when we know we've taken the steps to be one of the best teams in the West.
Which, I think that's great. I think, you're right. It is a measuring stick.
I thought we had taken that step, but we obviously haven't.
This is it, yeah, because I didn't see too many people talking about this, but I think when people think back to last year, they can only think of 2 words when it comes to LAFC.
False Creek.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Tim Ford. I was going to say Tim Ford, right? Like, and so I think they're like again, maybe like I feel about the Bayern game. They're like, we got screwed by the official, right? And yes, there's definitely some of that in what happened there. But were they, and just like I would admit that those 11 players left on the pitch for Bayern, would not have been favored to beat Real Madrid in the last 30 minutes. If Vancouver had equalized against LAFC back, in the Tim Ford match, would they really have been able to kick on?
And even if Tim Ford hadn't bowled Shopfy over, it's like, I'm not sure he was going to bury that shot.
Or even if they'd won that game or whatever and had gone back to LA for this amazing best of 3, would they really have,
And that's the thing, and this needs to be the measuring stick.
Yeah.
Like, we can beat any team on our day. And every other team in the West we are competitive with on a regular basis. But this one team, we have the odd result, but then we have these. It was 3-0 going on more. It really could have been 5 or 6 again. And let's just hope it was some tired legs. They got the tactics wrong. I don't know. But I think there is some bigger concerns to have there.
Speaking of big concerns, when you're talking about playing against an opponent like this and concerned about, playing them again, like I said, if my memory's not wrong, we don't play till July. But there was one other kind of big thing that we haven't touched on from this game, and that is the injury to Ili Sanchez. The knee to knee. I mean, he looked like in a great deal of pain. Like there was no.
I think it was an accident. Like I don't think it should have been a card or a sitting off or anything. It was just a coming together, and it could easily have injured Ryan's knee as well.
Exactly. I don't think there's anything wrong with the play, but that kind of I don't know, the amount of pain he looked in.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything since the match, since the game yesterday, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that did damage to him and if he's out for a while or a long time or whatever, because that he is key for them. Like he was a key pickup for them and someone who really, I mean, he was wearing the armband obviously in the game. But from even just his play, he is very, very, very important for them.
Yeah, but at least they've got the money, they can go and replace him if they need to. But that's it for our reviews of the game. For me, and we touched on it earlier, Zach, at the Cavalry game in particular, the first half showed the creativity and flair in our midfield is severely lacking with our depth. You take Andres Kubis out of that team and the midfield does not look the same, but there's not enough players, it feels, that are creating enough to give the chances to the front players. Now, you could look at the Austin game and say, well, they more than created there and just didn't put their chances away. So that is equally an issue in some games. But then a game like Cavalry and a game like LAFC, where it was different midfields out there, there was just no creative spark. And is that the tactics? Is it something more deep lying? Are the players just not good enough? Was I getting too carried away with the early season results, especially on the road? I thought, oh, this is definitely a top four team. Because I would say over the last 3 games, they have not looked like a top 4 team in the West.
Well, did you say that? I can't remember if you said that was their first drop.
No, I didn't mention that actually. Yeah, that's the first loss on the road, but it is the second straight game in league play where they haven't scored.
Right, I forgot about that.
And I thought Brian White really had an off day against LA.
And Gold wasn't great either.
No, he wasn't either. I think White as well is 1 booking away from yellow card accumulation.
What do you think, though, also about Ali Ahmed? Because the spark that he's had in this season, it feels like it's not as sparkly anymore.
It's diminishing a little bit.
And you're right. You asked a fair question. Is that due to maybe what he's being asked to do? Is it tactical? Obviously, he's played some different roles in different spots. So maybe that's part of it. Is it teams just know about him more or a combination of all these things? Like, yeah, there's definitely concern about the creativity. I mean, coming out of that LA game, there's some questions about the creativity. And then I guess you say Austin won in the finishing or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the LA game, it's hard in some ways to take too much from it because LA were very good. And Buanga in particular, I don't think it mattered what team was out there. He would have caused problems with those balls into the box. Yeah. But then it's how the goalkeeper and the defence deal with those balls coming in that may be different with other teams. Yeah. I can't really pile too much on the defence. They were terrible in this game. But for the season, they've been excellent. So these next 2 games are massive. Yeah. Because you've got Colorado midweek. We've not done great there. Colorado started not great, strung together some really good results though, and I feel are a very good team.
But not this weekend.
No. But then you've got Seattle, who seem to have turned a corner now as well since we beat them. That seems to have lit a fire under them. And when we go down there next Saturday, which it doesn't look like I am probably going to make it down to because my passport still hasn't arrived. I mean, obviously there's still a week, but I don't want to kind of arrange accreditation and stuff and then it doesn't end up arriving.
There's still time, isn't that
There is still time. But I'm also thinking, because I'm commentating on Friday night at Swangard, and then I'm commentating on Sunday afternoon at Thunderbird. So it is a very long weekend to then have a day trip down to Seattle and back. I'm definitely going down for the Portland game, because I'm all booked up for that. So that should be good. But that Seattle game this time around, I think, is going to be a whole different thing to what we saw a few weeks ago. And this Colorado game is also going to be very telling. And I think there's obviously going to be some rotation, but you've got to kind of ask, where is it not clicking just now? And for me, taking aside the defensive display against LA, you're looking at midfield creativity, and you're looking at the strikers basically not taking their chances, which we saw against Austin. They didn't really develop too much against LA. Fafa Pico is still looking lively. I do wonder if we've kind of run Brian White a little bit into the ground. I was surprised in some ways that he started against Cavalry. I know he didn't go the whole game, but I thought that would have been a game to give him a rest. But you look around with Damir Krylak injured, and the big glaring hole we have just now is I think we do need more striking depth. And we do need another creative midfielder. So we know there's one DP spot open. There could be a second one coming in the summer if they make it 4 DPs. We've got the chance of adding a couple of extra under-23 initiative players. I don't care what mechanisms they use, but we need a striker and we need to get more creative depth for midfield, if not a starter in midfield.
Remind me, is Krylak technically a TAM player, or do we not necessarily know that yet?
I don't think we fully know that yet. He probably will be, but I think it's later this month. The salaries
It's
are
got to
going
be
to
this
come out.
month, yeah. It's usually April or May. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's usually the end of May, I think. So they should be out soon. So we've got scope to make additions. We have to in the summer. We've got to strengthen this squad, because this squad is not going to be good enough to be top 4 with the depth that we've got, because there's too many players that haven't pushed on. And Ali Ahmed, so much has been expected of him. There's a lot of weight on his shoulders, and maybe he hasn't quite pushed on as much as some folk thought in the first couple of weeks.
Do you think they would do a thing, Michael, where they thought, look, 50 years together, we're going to make a special splash? I'm not saying a bloody big deal or whatever. I'm not saying.
Yeah, we're not talking. We're not talking double-decker buses going through.
No, I'm just saying, or
Well, with all the construction here, it wouldn't get very far.
No,
but
I just mean them saying, like, look, we know we're good, but we're not, quite good enough for the second half of the year. We're going to bring in a really talented center forward, whatever.
I think if they do that, they will appease a lot of the fans, because we spoke about this on an earlier show. If they do act in the summer and Axel can come out and say, this is what we had, we didn't want to promise in case things didn't come off, but we had this in mind, and this is why we've added this now, because he's available now, then great. And if it's 2 talented under-23 guys from South America that we don't know who the hell they are, but they come into the league and they're absolutely magnificent,
great.
Happy that it's not DPs.
We
just need 2 people that are going to actually perform and make a difference to this team.
Yeah, totally. I think Axel, there's some things, obviously he has to speak well of things in general.
Yeah,
but you also know that he's working on things all the time, and you hope that he sees that and he sees the opportunity, and he's able to find the finances to make that a reality for them, because they are on this upward trajectory in MLS. They're 2-time reigning champions of the Voyageurs Cup, looking to make it 3. They're going in a good way, and you'd hate for them to, sort of plateau there, especially in MLS league play and in playoffs.
Yeah, because when it gets to playoff time, again, the mark of how good this team is can they get past the first round this time?
Yeah.
That is the big thing. The other thing as well is you look at WFC 2, and in recent years, we've had like Simon Betcher stepped up, Levante Johnson stepped up. And the current state of the attack in the team, it does make you think, if only Simon Betcher was still here, what role would he have played? Could he have seized this opportunity and been the goal scorer that we're looking for? You look at WFC 2 right now, and there's nobody that you can really see stepping up that would be a big difference maker. Jay Herdman, I'm quite high on Jay. He scored today for WFC 2. They got a really good 4-3 win against LAFC too. I watched that this afternoon.
But he's not so much a center forward, right?
No, but he can play a forward role, but he is more an attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be the big difference maker that you need at MLS level.
The your reference to Betcher there, I think, is an interesting one. But I still think both for Betcher and for the Whitecaps, it was the right move, right? Because you're only talking. I think you're only talking about this right now, Michael, because Krylak's in a boot, right? If Krylak's not in a boot, then.
But
Betcher's
also, when we signed
anytime.
Krylak and Pico, Betcher was the last thing on my mind at that point. It's like, we've improved our attack, and we have with Fafa. Demir's not quite firing yet. But when you look at WFC2, outside of Jay Herdman, Gezermanikov, the fullback, that's the two big prospects. The other one, which is intriguing, which I'm delighted that he got involved with that game against Cavalry, is Cyprian Cachweli. Now, 19-year-old Tanzanian, scored again today, had another couple of chances, he's got 4 goals in the year. He looks a really good prospect. I would not mind seeing him get a call-up for one of these busy stretches in the MLS and maybe throw him on at the end just to see how he does at that level. But there's a big, big difference between MLS Next Pro and MLS. So we need to be looking outside. And like Glass City this week said, there's a signing coming soon to Whitecaps. And you do wonder if it's going to be that promise guy that only wants to play for the Whitecaps.
Right.
Promise David is the striker. Came through TFC Academy and Vaughan. He's about 6'6". Currently, he's been playing over in Croatia, and he wants to come and play for the Whitecaps. And I don't know that he is the answer to the Whitecaps' goal-scoring problems. You look currently at what he's done with his current team, Nomikalju in the Estonian First Division, and he's been getting goals there. He's performing well for them. And ultimately, the Whitecaps need someone that can put the ball in the net. He's scored 17 goals in 15 appearances for his side this year, adding 3 assists as well.
But it feels a little bit like that time when Robbo wanted to sign that conference player who is banging in all the goals.
Yes, because folk will be like, he's come from the Estonian league.
Well, I'm not questioning his abilities, but I would question the transferability to scoring goals in MLS.
Yeah, you're playing against higher quality defenders, and it would be I'm not saying he's going to come in and dislodge Brian White, but it's given you more of an option off the bench, because we said last week for the Austin game, you looked at that bench and there's no difference makers really that's going to come on. So we still need to make what we're saying is a big splash, but in somebody that's going to be a big difference maker in the summer. Yeah.
I thought Levante could have come into that game.
Yeah, he hasn't just pushed on the way I hoped he was going to, and maybe he will. Maybe those 2 goals against Cavalry will relay.
Exactly, but happy for him that he then became the difference maker in the Voyageurs Cup.
Yeah. So a mixed week for the Whitecaps on the pitch, but thankfully results elsewhere in MLS did go the Whitecaps' way, and we will be back talking about that and some of the crazy scenes out east in MLS we'll talk about as well. We'll be back with all of that after this episode's song from our Album of the Month.
Hi, I'm Javian Brown, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I'm running to the furthest place from here. I've seen
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca, the Surrey-based law firm for all your family legal needs. And kicking off this part, it is our album of the month here at AFTN for the month of May from 2014. Brooklyn-based all-girl band Habibi with their self-titled debut album. That was the 8th track from it, Let Me In. And it wasn't so much a case of let me in, it was please try and keep me out, is what the Whitecaps were saying in that game down in LA. So, I mean, these games that's coming up are going to be massive. We'll have a quick look around the action in the MLS West. We won't get too much into the games, but basically, a lot of the results went the Whitecaps' way this weekend, and they didn't fall out of 4th place, which they could very easily have done.
Yeah.
The problem now, though, that they have is they are currently sitting in 4th in the West on 18 points. LAFC are 5th on 18. Colorado are 6th on 18. Then you go down to St. Louis in 9th, and they're on 16. So 2 bad results coming up against Colorado and Seattle, and we could easily drop from first 2 as we were to 4th just now to down to 9th.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And a loss to Seattle would put them within potentially 2 points of us, or depending how their midweek game goes, ahead of us. So we could actually drop out the top 9 altogether.
And this is the Seattle side that was like rock bottom or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, that's now Portland.
Yeah.
I tell you how bad Portland are. San Jose are above them in the standings.
Yeah, which is crazy. But that's because they lost to Seattle and because San Jose won extra.
Yeah, but also like going into the Cascadia Derby today, Portland and Seattle were 13th and 14th in the West.
Which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that, I was like, oh boy, that is not something that you would expect to see.
The only thing worse than their position in the tables was the 2 kits they wore today.
Yeah. Why would you want to look like Real Salt Lake?
Is that the Dragon? I can't remember now. Seattle, is that the Dragon kit or something?
I think it is, but I thought this last year, but it just looked, when I switched it on today, I was like, is this the RSL game? Yeah,
it's like it's more of a shade that you would expect from Portland as the Rose City whatever, than you would have Seattle wearing that kind of.
Portland have shirt sponsors now.
Oh, I watched the highlights of this. I don't even remember that. Who's the sponsor?
One of my favorite companies.
Bimbo?
Tillamook Cheese.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Tillamook cheese is amazing.
I know it is.
How many times have you been to the factory?
3 times. Once for the proper tour, 2 just to get some free cheese samples.
I don't know if I've ever done the proper tour.
The proper tour is you just wander through it. But
okay, yeah, no, I've done that.
I like read the stuff, but I more just go and get the samples. It's always so busy though. That's the only thing. Like we always bring cheese home with us.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it is. It is so good. That's amazing. If that is a sponsor.
Yeah, it sadly just says Tillamook and not Tillamook cheese because they also do their ice cream and stuff as well. Which if you've not had their ice cream
is amazing.
Yes,
yeah. It is. Yeah. I have fond memories, not just football trips, although I think all the trips did include football. But the Oregon coast it's wonderful.
Well, we're booked for a 4-day trip down the coast. It's all I can fit in around the Portland game because of my commentary commitments. But in June we've got 4 days down there. We're going down to Newport again. But we often stay in Rockaway Beach, which is like 20 minutes from Tillamook. So we're always going past the Tillamook Smokery, the outlet, the factory.
Yeah, it's so good. One of my favorite trips was I did with a group of students back in the day, and we camped at Fort Stevens.
Oh, I don't know that.
Oh, it's right across from Astoria. It's like at an actual fort. So you camp, and then there's an actual fort there. You can go check out the fort. And
yeah, because Astoria is one of the oldest places down the coast.
And it's famous
full of history and Goonies.
Goonies and Kindergarten Cop and a whole bunch of movies have been made there.
Yeah, and they
Yeah,
also have they've got a nice fish and chip place there. I think, I can't remember what it's called, Bow something. And it's served out of an old boat.
oh,
It's
oh,
stationary, but
I've eaten I didn't have fish. I ate in like a seafood restaurant there a few times, like twice, I think.
they used to
It's
have a really good brewery as well that changed its name. We're getting to it was called the Wet Dog Cafe, which I liked.
Wet Dog.
Wet Dog. They
That's
changed it
wet.
now. It's Astoria Brewing Company.
Wet dog smells like a wet dog smells horrible, usually.
Yeah, but I've got my glass. It's cute. Anyway, I didn't mean us to get sidetracked with talks of the Oregon coast. Let's get into the MLS West action. Dallas beat Austin 2-1 in the Texan Derby. Houston beat KC 2-1. St. Louis beat Chicago 3-1. San Jose came away with a big 3-2 win against Colorado. Just to touch on that one briefly, San Jose seem to have started to turn the corner. So that's a couple of really good results for them in a row now, and they've basically needed it. But Colorado were 2 goals up in this one.
Yeah, yeah, full comeback from
Yeah,
San Jose Espinoza with the winner.
full comeback by them by half time. They'd leveled things up as well, which was crazy. But yeah, like Espinoza's so good. You often feel he should be in a better team than San Jose.
Going, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say LARSL, I did watch the highlights of,
Mhm.
and talking of teams being 2 goals up, RSL were 2
Yes.
goals up at half time in this.
Yeah,
And then LA came storming back, and Zach McMath is going to want that
yes.
equaliser back.
What a nightmare! What an absolute nightmare to come to that and not get it.
Yeah, Miguel Berry just nips in ahead of him. Like, McMath goes down to collect the ball, like he's got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And Berry just nips in sticks his foot out and pokes it in.
Was it Chichu with the brace, right?
Yeah, Chicha Arango. Let's talk about him. Now, he is a guy, like, he's gone to RSL. Surely we could have been in the mix to get him here. Maybe he doesn't want to play on fake pitch, I don't know, but imagine what a strike force of him and White with gold would have been.
Yeah. He's quality.
He, for me, I mean, Messi's obviously going to be an MVP for the league. I can't see them not voting for Messi, to be honest. But if you take Messi out of the equation, Chicha Arango right now is head and shoulders the league MVP.
Yeah, I mean,
And Buanga's not far behind him.
last year's MVP, I don't know what his numbers are, but last year's MVP did really well today as well. Luciano Costa, a goal assist in the Ohio Derby. Who wouldn't want Luciano Costa on their team? But no, you're not wrong. Hey, can I mention one thing from the Texas Derby?
Yeah, I haven't seen that, so yeah, you can mention whatever you want from it.
So, Austin, of course, was just in Vancouver, and there was that awkward, I think it was the halftime moment, or was it end game or halftime, where Driussi had it out with
Oh,
Laporta
yes.
or whatever, and you're thinking, okay, what kind of headspace is he in? Well, if you go watch the highlights, you'll see that Driussi inadvertently sets up the opening goal for Dallas.
Oh,
By making a back pass, kind of a no look. I think it was no look back pass that just puts in what's his name, Nusa. I think Nusa from the number 9 from Dallas, and who just goes in and scores.
there was no repercussions from that last week. It was so, I thought it'd be something.
Yeah, it was weird. And then Jesus Ferreira got the winner for them.
Did you see any of the Portland Seattle game?
Just I've seen the highlights.
Okay.
I didn't watch the actual game.
Because I had that and WFC2 on this afternoon because I didn't go to the VFC game. We'll come to that in the next part. But Portland took the lead in that with Mora, and then Seattle tied it up 4 minutes later from Roldan with your favourite Rui Diaz, who wouldn't want him at your club, scored the winner in the 50th minute. Portland have not kept a clean sheet all season. So
How dare you disparage those Canadian keepers down in Portland?
how much...
Those beloved Canadians.
I like James Pantemis. How much pressure is Neville under? Like, would they pull the trigger and get rid of him super fast? Or do they give him the season no matter what?
I don't know. Portland's a strange got some strange things going on, right, with their ownership and whatever. And so, I don't know.
Because, I mean,
I'm
right now, they are sitting
in a bad
10
spot.
points behind the playoff line.
Yeah. I could see it, honestly, I could see that going either way, Michael. Like, yeah, them totally ditching him or them saying, no, we're riding it out because we believe in him.
Because at some point, you've got to ask the question, and I've seen fans asking this in the CPL of Valor. Is it the coach? Is it the players? And you look at that Portland team, and there's some pretty damn fine players on that side.
Well, to be fair, I think they started with Evander wasn't an option from the start.
No, so he came off the bench.
Yeah. So he's a massive player for Portland, right? Like, not having him be able to start is a significant loss.
Yeah. I was hoping for a draw, just from Whitecaps' point of view for Cascadia Cup, but also in terms of league standings as well. You kind of want to keep Seattle there because you know they're going to make a run later on. But they do seem to have turned the corner now, and they've put together a couple of really good results. I mean, you look below the line just now, and Seattle's on 13, Dallas are on 11, Kansas City's on 11, San Jose's on 10, Portland's on 10. Now, everything else has tightened up so much. From first to ninth, you're looking at 6 points. From second to ninth, you're looking at 4 points. And from the Whitecaps and fourth to ninth, you're looking at 2 points. So there's a lot going to be different by the end of this month. And the more draws there can be, the better it is from a Whitecaps perspective. But this game against Colorado now on Wednesday is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
And you look at that starting lineup against LA, and like I said, I feel that was the best starting lineup, but there clearly needs to be some changes.
I didn't talk about this in the first part, but just I want to go back to something we did talk about and just ask. You were asking, is there things Vanny needs to do differently? I think Buanga, who likes to operate in that wide space, I think one of the things he found against this Whitecap side was he got space between the back three and the wing back. And I wonder, I'm not saying Vanny should switch, but I'm wondering if that is what some teams see. That the way they use their fullbacks going forward, which obviously makes sense, gives that space to counterattack into or to attack, right? And so you don't have the same width, so you have more time to cross or more space to cross from. And so I'm wondering if, again, I know Vanny prefers a back three to a back four or whatever. But.
Well, when he did his pre-season technical chat with us and talk tactics and everything, the fullbacks are meant to get back to fill that space. Yeah. But the problem is that's in an ideal world.
Yeah.
And I've said this before, like, Vanny makes a law of, he says, no other team in the world plays like we do. And I always can't help but thinking, there's probably a reason for that.
Great. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, not being facetious or anything. It's just that football follows trends and fads and fashions.
Absolutely.
Whether it's, let's put the ball as far away and just barely touching the corner quadrant to take it, or putting the men down behind the wall. There's all these fads, and everyone sees everything around the world and everything follows suit. So if no other team is playing like this, you've got to ask yourself, why? And is it because they leave themselves too exposed in those places that the likes of Buanga can then absolutely have a field day with?
But Vanny would also say, look at the results we've gotten with it. The Cascadia Cup, Voyageurs Cup, and the playoff.
Yeah, that's fair as well.
Whatever, and a good beginning to the season. So it's not. I'm not saying.
No, but the nature of football is you're high with the highs, you're low with the lows. Although the club always, whether it's MDS or Vanny, have been keen to stress we don't get too high with the highs and we don't get too low with the lows. I do though.
Even Robbo said that.
Yeah,
right? That was Robbo would say the exact same thing.
But I do, and that's why we exist. Yeah. To get carried away with the highs and to be really sad with the lows. That's why we love the game. That's why we love football. Now, this road stretch, there's 4 games on the road, 3 in the League One in the Cup. Then they'll be back to take on Cavalry on Tuesday the 21st in the Cup. No, Tuesday the 23rd in the Cup. Why is it the 21st? It is the 21st. I was right the first time.
It's the Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, so it is the 21st. And then the Inter Miami circus comes to town.
Yeah.
No.
which is unfortunate that it's the cup matches that week, I think, for them. Maybe
Well,
not.
yeah, no, yeah, that is a thing for attendance as well because there's going to be so much excitement. I'm really curious what the crowd's going to be at Vancouver FC Pacific. How many folk are going to make a big afternoon of it? Because I've spoken to some people
No,
that I know are definitely not going to the VFC game because they're worried about traffic because there's such a big crowd heading to BC Place that they don't want to get caught in traffic and stuck either not getting parked or get caught on the highway. Because it just takes one car to have a little prang and it's like you're not getting to that game.
Yeah, bridges and tunnels are not super helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I was going to do both, but after speaking to a couple of folk that pointed that out, I was like, yeah, you know what? That would maybe be a stupid thing to do.
unless you, well, I'll talk to you about that later. There's other ways you could do it, but
Teleportation.
yeah, beam me up, Scotty. But no,
But can he hold it, Captain?
no, that game, even though it's the derby, I think you'll have a bunch of Pacific people here because they're going to go to both games, and you're going to have some people who do go to both games.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot, I don't think, but
No.
you're going to have some.
And at least it's in Langley and it's close-ish. It's not somewhere like in the interior or something. But
But it's not. It's I think going to be perhaps even the low. I mean, today was not great, but I think it could be just as bad or probably even worse.
Yeah. Harborside play the Whitecaps in League One action in Nanaimo. That has pissed me off so much because like this is such a big game for the club, and you're now denying the Whitecaps girls and boys academy players of being at that game.
Yeah.
Because they have to go and play a League One game in Nanaimo.
Yeah, and they're not willing to change it, right? You said.
I don't know if discussions were. I don't know. I just said there's no way I'm going to commentate that day there. Yeah. So that is not a game of the week. So that was initially penciled in, and I was like, yeah, that is not happening.
Yeah, it's good of you to put your foot down.
Yeah, we've got a better one coming up for game of the week that weekend anyway. So.
But no, I mean it's a huge week. Do you think maybe they could say, hey, Inter, can you bring Leo to the game and we can have him at our cup match on the Tuesday night? Maybe
get the numbers up.
A meet and greet. He doesn't have to
Can Rob give him a call and go, hey, do you fancy taking in a little bit of local action before you take to the pitch?
No,
we'll have a helicopter to fly you to BC Place.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant
I know.
Game. But yeah.
But the reason I'm mentioning Messi, and do you know, after we finished recording last week, I was like, oh crap, I never mentioned Messi's record-breaking weekend. Folk are going to think it's on purpose and I was just being a hipster by not mentioning him. I just totally forgot. 5 assists and a goal. Let's mention that now. That is, wow.
That was ridiculous. Did you watch? Did you see those?
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Like, whatever league you're playing in, if you put those numbers up, even if you're in youth football and you put those numbers up, that is bloody impressive.
The numbers are good, but it was also a little bit,
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Red Bulls. Well, I think they made them angry by scoring first. I think that's what happened. Let's see if the Whitecaps do that. But the reason I'm mentioning Messi this week is he played his first league game in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Montreal, to quote the terracing chant, 2-0, and they fucked it up. 2-0, and they fucked it up.
I think are you supposed to say bloody?
Yeah, I said they'd be swearing in this part. So, Montreal shocked Miami by going 2 goals up, but by half-time they were level at 2-2 and went down to a 3-2 loss. That's not what I want to talk about. We got our first taste of what a Canadian crowd is going to be like with Miami in the attendance. There was some boos when Messi touched the ball. I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I'd like to see some boos at BC Place. Lots of pink shirts throughout the crowd. Lots of cheering when Miami scored. It's what we can expect here.
Wait, there was cherry blossom kits there?
I want to talk to you about cherry blossom kits in the next part.
Okay.
From watching the game today, it was not a great spectacle on TV.
Oh.
Thankfully, the shorts were different colours.
Oh, yeah.
It was a little bit tough to differentiate from
Ottawa,
face on, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, let's get to that in the next part.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after.
But yeah, so it's what you're expecting when Messi comes. And it's like, yeah, I don't like it that home fans are going to be outnumbered at home, but let's be honest, it's Messi. It is what it is. But it was interesting, Laurent Courtois, the CF Montreal head coach, said afterwards,
Yes, yeah.
we were losing at home and hearing the fans sing for Messi, it gets difficult. And this kind of, I've seen debates on social media, so on the Whitecaps Facebook page. I don't like it, but I expect it to happen, and I understand why it's happening. Because this isn't just your normal game, it's a spectacle. Folk haven't bought tickets to go and watch the Whitecaps play Miami. They have bought tickets, the bulk of them, to go and see Messi play. Otherwise, you'd be packing these people into BC Place every week. So there is going to be pink shirts throughout the crowd. There is going to be Messi chants. There undoubtedly will be people run on the pitch and try and get at Messi. If it's happened in other BC Place games.
It didn't happen in Montreal,
No,
right?
no.
Well,
but
because they know the cheese mafia will get you.
Yes. I did see that the Ultras got a banner taken away, but I don't know what it said because it was in French.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what it said. You don't know? Okay. I won't say it in French because I'll screw up the French. I'll just translate it for you. It was a quote of like 2014.
Yeah, from Joey Saputo.
From Joey Saputo, and it said, our supporters deserve better."
Ah.
And then it got taken away by security.
Yeah, because they lost Renard this week, Olivier Renard,
Yes.
which was a huge shock and seemed to catch everyone by surprise that he...
Well, I'd heard I forget where I'd heard rumblings that something was going to happen there, and then it did. So I wasn't like shocked about it, but I still think it's not the right move for them. But with Joey, I don't think we've talked about this on the show. I think Joey's a little preoccupied, right? You realize that Bologna are qualifying for the Champions League in Serie A?
No.
Oh yeah, like I think they're third. They were in third.
Oh wow.
Like, Italy has at least 5 spots, right? Or has 5 spots, and they are very much going to make it from what my Italian sources tell me. But no, yeah, they're like killing it over there, and apparently, like Michael, imagine this, he's like loved over there. And
I would imagine if he's taken a team like Bologna into Champions League football, he would be.
Yeah, Thiago Motta is the coach there. And I said, surely there he doesn't, I was talking to someone, I said, surely there he doesn't like go in the dressing room and say whatever he wants to say. and I was told, no, that's what Italian owners do there. Sometimes the coaches don't like it.
I wanted to tell you about a quote that I haven't seen this, but it was on the famous Slope and Pitch podcast that I listened to. They said this was their quote of the week. It's from Norwegian manager Ståle Solbakken.
Oh, yeah.
And his quote was, he was talking about Juventus and the Super League. And he said, this is pretty much word for word. In the last few years, Juventus have lost to Lyon, Ajax, and I can't remember who else it was, have knocked him out of the Champions League. Why the fuck should they be in a Super League?
Oh my.
Superb quote. But he's very much right. But going back to the Messi thing, this is what I hope is going to happen the 25th. Everyone goes, has a great time, they get to see Messi. Messi scores, Whitecaps win, everyone goes home happy.
Yeah, what are the odds on Messi making a cross from the left for Suarez to finish?
What are the odds of Messi twisting his ankle on the turf? Oh, Messi went down hurt in the first half of this game.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, oh no. Is he going to miss the Vancouver game? You could see Whitecaps officials watching that going, uh-oh. But he came back on, obviously.
There's still time for him to get hurt. Right? Like it's more the game before.
But he was also quite pissed off because he wasn't allowed to come on and take a free kick because of the new rules.
Yes.
But it didn't matter because Royas scored an absolute screamer of a free kick instead.
Yeah. Oh, that was a bloody great shot.
That was one hell of a strike. That was one of the best free kicks I've seen.
Yeah, it was. I said, Kirk, you got to see this.
Yeah, that was amazing.
He's like, why are you watching my Montreal? I was like, no, Kirk watches.
But yeah, it's gonna be a circus. We just have to live with it. It's a big distraction. It's maybe coming at a bad time if the Whitecaps are hitting a little bit of a rough patch.
So I know we've hypothesized on this before, but what happens if the dude gets hurt and doesn't play? Because sorry, the other thing, you see videos like there was people at the Miami hotel, right, waiting for him.
Yes, because I sent that to her and I was like, that hadn't even crossed my mind. That's obviously going to happen here.
Oh yeah, because people know where the MLS teams stay.
Yeah, they all stay in the same hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, well, most teams stay in the same hotel. I was actually in a different hotel when Houston stayed because I had breakfast with Owen Coyle and we did an interview and it was nice. That was a different hotel. But yeah, on the whole, they all stay in a certain hotel. We're not going to name it.
No, we're not going to name it.
Because I want to be down there on my own with my camera, get my photos.
You're sending Tom too with the long ones?
Oh yeah, I'll just send Tom.
But no, could you imagine if he gets hurt and he doesn't come, can't play, whatever? I guess is there something? I know we speculated on this before. Is there something like even if he's injured, he's going to come and do an appearance or something?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a kind of unwritten thing that these trips to the West, he'll not skip because he's skipped games so far this year, but they've all been Eastern.
Right.
But the reason that these Western teams have been picked is especially for various reasons. So we've got him because it's our 50th anniversary and we've never played Miami. So that's why Vancouver got him.
Yeah.
So the expectation, official or unofficial, is he will come to these games. So everyone that was said, oh, he'll never come here, I was always like, no, he's going to come. That's the whole reason that they've picked Vancouver as the thing. The only thing that does stop him is if he has an injury. But it would be ridiculous if he has an injury to fly all this way just to put an appearance in.
That's true too, yeah.
I would think that's ridiculous.
It would be so bad. Wouldn't it be so bad?
It would. Let's not even consider that happening.
That would be like, I mean, those poor ticket reps, but not even just the ticket.
Oh, well,
rep.
the abuse they're going to get for folk looking for refunds. But as I've always said, you're buying a ticket for a game. You're not buying a ticket.
But think of all those people who also bought them on the secondary market.
Oh, yeah. Like, fuck them, I don't care.
They spent a lot of money. No, but I'm just saying, like the crazy uproar, the frustration.
But any game.
I don't. Honestly, I think he's gonna come. I think he's gonna be fine. I think he's gonna play.
I just hope the Whitecaps win. An early goal for the Whitecaps in that game is huge.
I just look forward to
takes the crowd out of it a bit.
I'm totally looking forward to her asking him about what he thinks of the pitch.
We know that she will, but we also know we're going to get nowhere near him. Do you know what the annoying thing is? It's like, Harry, we were talking about this. Me and her both want to speak to Julian Gressel.
Oh, right.
But the chance of us getting anywhere near any of the Miami players feels like it might be slim for this game.
Yeah.
But we know we're not going to get to speak to Messi. We know we're probably not going to get to speak to Suarez. Although,
do they all have bodyguards, or is it just
Messi?
Or just Messi?
Yeah.
Not even Suarez.
No.
Well, Suarez will bite you if you get close.
Well, I was going to say, what the fans need to do is bring some false teeth, fake teeth to the game, and just like
chatter on them.
He bites when he wants. He bites when he wants. Luis Suarez. He bites when he wants.
The second verse is he bites what he wants. He bites what he wants.
Well, talking of bites, someone said that they even saw a bite in this post-game Stramash. I didn't, but I did see a lot of other things. Let's talk about the other Canadian team to round off this part and the batshit crazy ending to NYC TFC that you didn't know about until we started recording because you hadn't caught up with that yet.
No, and even when I watched the highlights, it's not on the.
Yeah, you had to have seen it on Twitter or watched the full game live. But even watching the full game live, folk will have turned off because it went to the ad break and everything kicked off in the ad break, which they then showed when they came back. But so many folk will have turned off by that.
The Bernadeschi, I think, red card, was in the highlights.
Yes, it was.
I watched literally, I think, every MLS highlight package from this weekend. In addition to watching the Montreal and then the full Whitecaps game.
So it was another 3-2 game. TFC lost. They were 2-0 down, made it 2-1. They were 3-1 down. Bernadeschi scored in the dying minutes of the game. They had a big push to try and get the equaliser. There was a stoppage in stoppage time, but the referee only seemed to add on about 90 seconds, which really pissed off Bernadeschi.
Which she asked the referee about?
Yeah, and I think he asked quite calmly. I don't think he was abusive. We don't know what was said, of course. But he got a second yellow, and then got a red, and didn't take it well, if you could lip read.
No, maybe he asked in Italian, and the ref just assumed he was saying something nasty.
Oh, maybe. I mean, having lived opposite an Italian family for years, even when they're talking normal, it sounds like they're yelling at each other. Although half the time they were yelling at each other, to be fair. But Bernadeschi's going off, and you can lip read, and he's effing and blinding, and then he's right in front of a mic and a camera, and he's like, "Fuck you!" He did not look happy as he went off the pitch. I thought it was a ridiculous yellow to get. Yeah. Not the only ridiculous red card this weekend. We'll talk about that in the CPL.
Yeah.
But I thought, oh, that was it. And then all hell breaks loose. There was an altercation that seemed to centre around TFC goalkeeper Sean Johnson and NYC defender Strahinja Tanazevic. I'll try not to say that name too often. Now, Sean Johnson, I think, is a fantastic goalkeeper. He's one of the best homegrown keepers we've had in MLS. He's won an MLS Cup with New York City. He was with New York City for 6 years. So he doesn't hate NYC. I have never seen Sean Johnson get anywhere near as irate as he did at the final whistle. And my immediate reaction, as I think a lot of folk did, was, I wonder if something was said really, really bad that crossed the line and triggered him. And you can all draw your own conclusions as to what many of us thought might have happened. Afterwards, though, TFC captain Jonathan Osorio was asked about it, and he said one of their players crossed the line and headbutted Sean Johnson. He was asked who it was, but he said, I can't remember the number. He said, I saw it. He headbutted him. So we can only assume that's what triggered the incident. Johnson loses it.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's
the red mist.
It's in his eyes. He is like gone. He's held back. He then charges through everybody and then goes straight up to Tanazevic. Not good with these names. And it looks like he puts the head in on him as well and lifts his knee up into his groin.
As you do.
Yeah.
As a keeper. I mean, that's a natural reflex for a keeper to protect themselves.
Well, I guess it kind of is, yeah. But the NYC defender kind of looks like, I don't know what this is about. And to be fair, he tries to turn away and not be part of it. But obviously we don't know what he's done beforehand because that doesn't seem to have been captured. So all hell broke loose and they went off. But that isn't even the main talking point now.
No.
That's coming out of this game. This is insane. So in the post-game press conference, they're talking about the incident with Sean Johnson. But then Jonathan Osorio, the TFC captain, says, their coach talks and says things to certain players that crosses the line. When we hear their coach and 3 players cornered a 19-year-old of ours by himself, that's going to be a problem. We were just letting them know that we didn't forget about that. So Neil Davison from Canadian Press wanted to clarify to get this right, obviously, for very obvious reasons. So he asked John Herdman, can you just clarify what you said and what has been said about what Cushing did? So John says, that was the off-record report that came into the dressing room at half-time from a 19-year-old who said he got cornered and punched in the face. So it was clarified that that's what was said. So folks done the research, and the only 19-year-old was Jaquil Marshall-Rutty. Now, this has put a lot of spotlight on this young lad, unfortunately, because folks going to obviously want to hear his side of things. Mm-hmm. Now, Herdman was then asked, why did nothing happen of this incident? So this happened in March, in the first meeting of the teams.
Yeah.
And Herdman says the cameras weren't working in certain areas of the stadium.
NYCFC's Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, NYFC and Cushing vehemently deny that this happened.
As you'd expect.
Yes. And if there's no video evidence, John Herdman has landed himself in a lot of shit here. Because you have made a very serious accusation against a fellow coach that, to quote Tom Bogart, said, this isn't just a firing offence if this happened. This is a you don't work in soccer again offence.
Yeah. And he put
he's worded it carefully.
His allegation or his reporting of what was told to him, has created a very interesting scenario. But it also, like you said, it puts the player, who everyone has been able to work out who it was, into the spotlight, because it's a he said, right? It's the player said, and now the coach is saying, right?
So if no one else witnessed it from a TFC point of view, because they're all in the dressing room, folk are going to be like, well, either this happened and Cushing needs fired, or Ruti's lying.
Right. And so you imagine the next step is MLS will do an internal investigation.
Yeah. Which we know how long they take.
Yeah.
But often with things, people are suspended while this happens. Now, I don't think you can suspend Cushing in this incident, because it's like you've got to do your investigation first.
Yeah.
And if there's no cameras and there's no eyewitnesses that are prepared to speak up, I don't see how anything can get proved against him. So then then you're like, does John Herdman face punishment?
When we initially, you and I were talking about this, I thought, oh yeah, this is really, really bad for him. And it might be, but I also think he is just saying this is what was told to me by one of my players.
Yeah.
Now, with John Herdman, this is perhaps another scenario where you could say, John, maybe that's something you shouldn't have said to the media.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just
we want 7 goals. We're going to spank Croatia.
Croatia thing. Yeah. Very, very much the Croatia. Yeah. The 7 goals. I forgot about that. Yeah. That's not that long ago. Right.
Oh, he paid full credit to Saint Laurent after their game midweek. He said, that was the first thing he said. He's like, I just want to say straight off, Saint Laurent played a fantastic game.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does sometimes say things that he might then go back and regret.
They're very truthful and blunt and honest and whatever, but tact is not the right word, because I do think John generally chooses his words intentionally. And
I think he's chosen what he said carefully here, but I think it's wrong to go public and basically say this when you don't have any proof.
Well, you don't have any way yet to back up. Yeah.
Because you've accused a coach. Because John also said something like, I've managed for over 300 games and I've never once put my hand on a player. So he didn't just back down from it. It's like they talked a lot about this. And Neil Davison clarified, so what you're saying is that Cushing assaulted one of your players.
Yeah. Now, here, just again, we didn't talk about this before, but reading between the lines here, Michael, the fact that John Herdman says there was no working cameras in that part of the stadium sounds like TFC and or MLS or whoever has done some follow-up on this.
Yeah.
But I've chosen to keep it out of the public, and now John has brought it into the public sphere.
I guess the interesting aspects is, how will MLS react?
Yeah.
How will Nick Cushing react? Because he is going to get asked about that at his very next press conference, which is very soon.
Yeah.
And
well, if you're NYCFC, would you not try and get ahead of this and not leave it to the next?
Well, they haven't responded to requests. The Athletic tried to get quotes and they hadn't responded. So
okay, but maybe
they might on Monday. The time this
Monday.
Podcast comes out, there might be a thing. So if Cushing says this simply did not happen, does he take action against John Herdman?
Yeah.
Herdman never said his name. Neil Davison said, so you're saying Nick Cushing, and he didn't say his name.
Yeah, he said
the coach.
the coach of the opponent.
Mm-hmm. And Osorio said that as well. Their coach, blah, blah, blah.
Now, again, is that a place where there's variance for head coach and assistant coach and? Yeah.
Because when I read the quotes, I didn't think it was going to be their head coach. Because you know it's like goalkeeper coaches or assistant coaches often get involved in those kind of things.
Yeah.
But I didn't mention this. I don't even think I told you about this beforehand. In the video in the post game, you actually see Herdman go right up to Cushing, and he's like right in, and he like chest into him.
So not like a chest bump, like a hey, it's good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, not one of those. And then they're like separated. So Herdman went straight to him.
Oh.
But someone else then shared the video of the post game from the March 15th thing with Herdman not going up to Cushing and being angry, but just shaking his hand and stuff. It was also kind of mentioned by John that they said, we've got this kind of bond, the players are all bonded together, so it's the whole brotherhood thing again, which you've always got to be careful it doesn't kind of go into kind of thug gang mentality with the players, because it looked like it looked like the kind of thing you see in VMSL and local amateur soccer games at the end of it, where players just lose their shit.
Yeah.
Not professional players. Now, Sean Johnson is going to get a multi-game ban. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, who's TFC's back? It's not very good from whatever.
Yeah, so I guess by the time this comes out, there may be more repercussions, but we wanted to talk about it anyway. But that does round up our MLS chat. We're going to turn our attention to the CPL next, after we take you back to 1974.
Hi, I'm Martin Nash, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. And kicking off this part, we've taken you all the way back to 1974 and a single that was released on May 17th that year. The very distinctive vocals of Brian Ferry, his third solo single, taken from his second solo album, Another Time, Another Place, and that was The In Crowd. One of Brian Ferry's absolute best solo songs. And it was a fun week in Whitecaps land 50 weeks ago today. The aftermath of their historic first ever game, their inaugural home opener, was still getting talked about in the Vancouver Sun and the Vancouver province. A lot of debate in the columns from fans that had been getting in touch, some complaining about the razzmatazz and the gimmick that had been added to the game to kind of fit the North American mould. Others, such as Whitecaps general manager Denny Veach, just saying fans just need to get used to it and embrace the change. But I guess, like many things, and it's still very true today and with myself, depending on what culture you were growing up watching the game or liking the game, I think kind of shapes what you feel is acceptable in football and what is not. And funnily enough, we'll probably come to some of those things later in this part when we get talking about Vancouver FC. But ahead of the Whitecaps' second match in the NASL, they added another new player. 26-year-old Englishman, a veteran of the game, Les Wilson, signed a contract for the Whitecaps for their inaugural season. He was released by Norwich City, allowing him to sign for the NASL for the summer. The Whitecaps had tried to sign him as a loan player when he was with Norwich, but it was turned down. And Wilson went on to make 18 appearances for the Whitecaps that inaugural season, and the defender overall spent 4 seasons in Vancouver, making 38 appearances, scoring 1 goal and adding 2 assists. So the Whitecaps took to the Empire Stadium pitch once again on May 11th, 1974. Back-to-back home games to kick off the season, this time against Denver Dynamos, and this time they came away with their first ever victory. 10,232 fans headed along to Empire on a chilly Saturday evening, down from the 17,343 for the opener, remembering though that a lot of free tickets were given out for that match. Whitecaps came away with a 1-0 victory against their fellow expansion side from the Central Division, Brian Gant becoming the hero with the only goal of a game, as the Whitecaps had a 3-on-3 breakaway. The ball played into Gant, he shot past Denver keeper Mike Poole, and the Caps had their first ever victory. They followed that up with their first 2 road games, played within 3 days of each other. On May 17th, 1974, they headed to Miami to take on the Toros. A 2-2 draw was played out in front of 4,195 fans at the Orange Bowl. Miami, though, getting the victory in the penalty shootout. Scotsman George McLean got both of Vancouver's goals in this one. And 2 days later, they had to make the long trip back north into Canada to take on Toronto Metros at Varsity Stadium. 5,130 fans came out for this one. George McLean got on the score sheet again for the Whitecaps, but they went down to a 2-1 defeat. 4 games played to start their first ever season. 1 win, 2 overtime shootout losses and a regulation loss. Wasn't the way that George Easton had hoped to start, but could things pick up? Find out next week in This Week in Whitecaps Land, 1974. So from the past, right up to the present, as we bring you up to date with the CPL action from this weekend. We won't delve fully into all the games, but there's a few things I do want to talk about coming out of it.
500th match on Friday.
Yeah, and Phil DeSantis cannot catch a break just now.
No, he cannot.
Valasai took the lead.
I was so excited when they took the lead. I was like, oh, they look good. They a nice goal, like whatever, you know. You're like, okay, they can get something from this.
Yeah, good goal. They held the lead to the 68th minute.
Yeah.
6 minutes later, they're 2-1 down. And it cut, when the second goal went in, it cut to Phil DeSantis on the bench, and he just looked a broken figure.
Yeah.
Because it was horrible defending. It was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And then Mabuli got the third, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 3-1 to York. Valor just now are bottom of the table.
12 goals shipped and won 4 in their last 3 competitive matches or something.
I
And
mean,
yeah, they haven't taken anything.
it was, we touched on this earlier, it was something that I've seen fans asking. It's like, is it the coach or is it the players? Is it
Yeah.
the tactics or is it the players? And the general consensus was it's just the players aren't good enough. And like
Yeah.
right now, I mean, it's 5 games, so it's a long season, and there's
Yeah.
6 points off the playoffs.
Well, and
So
they're dealing with this can't play at home till
yeah,
which is makes
so
it even
we
worse.
knew these first
Worse.
7 games were going to be tough, but a -10 goal differential is hard to make up unless you have guys that you think can score. And right now, I don't know where the goals come from for them. They scored 3 the whole year. They gave up so many in that loss in the Canadian Championship to Ottawa that must just have hit their morale so much.
Yeah.
And the only other team that's anywhere near them just now is Halifax.
Mm-hmm.
And Halifax struggling as well, but they got their first points of the season on Saturday, a 1-0 draw with Cavalry. And that was a game that the teams in the first half just seemed to want to kick hell out of each other.
Can I just say something? I used to think that when our good friend Felipe, when he would talk about his favorite CPL side, which is Forge, he's worked for them. He has good ties there and all that stuff. When he used to talk about Forge playing Cavalry and he used to talk about the physicality and whatever, I didn't think he was making an excuse, but I thought, oh, like, this is a little bit harsh on Cavalry. And I've watched a bunch of Cavalry over the years, but this year, this year I see it. I see what he's saying a little bit. I'm not saying they're thugs or anything like that, but they are very physical, strong side who, like, there's no messing with them, if you will. You know what I mean? Like they are. Yeah, Tommy has them both, I think, in the players he's brought in and the mindset and the approach and whatever, has them being like, there's no battle they'll back down from, no battle that they'll lose. And yeah, I think you saw, I mean, I saw this in the games against Vancouver this year with Cavalry, Vancouver FC. And I think you saw it a little bit against the Whitecaps at least. And again, against Halifax this weekend.
It was a 1-0 draw in the end. There was 8 yellow cards. I think 7 of them came in the first half. And the referee was good. She made quite a lot of good calls and like tried to calm things down. She was quick at getting the yellow cards out to show the players it wasn't going to be a red because things did boil over at a couple of occasions. I think she missed sending Charlie Trafford off for a second yellow just before half-time. It was a clear yellow card offence for his second challenge, but it's tough for Halifax just now as well. Mm-hmm. Cavalry, though, they're sitting in 6th, and it's like I had them in Ottawa like battling it out at the top to be the top 2. There's still a lot of time, but it feels like Cavalry's another team that aren't kind of firing on all cylinders right now.
No, like we talked about, their win against Vancouver FC was their first league win. Then they've had lost the Whitecaps and then this draw. They're not showing the form that they showed last year, that's for sure. But they do have the pieces. I mean, even that game, that goal, again, you see an excellent cross from Fraser Air to find Akio at the back post with a very nice finish. And they have, I think they just have pieces that, that work really well together and that are diverse to change things up. And like I said before, they're very flexible and all that kind of stuff. And I also wonder, and I haven't asked this of Tommy, but you wonder if there is a plan to in some way or on some level to replace Meyer Bevan. I know I've made a lot of jokes about how much I don't appreciate him and his.
But he is a quality player, and that's a big piece to lose from your attack.
Totally. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. Even it might not happen for a while, it might not happen until mid-season or whatever. But yeah, I don't expect them to stay in this kind of negative form or whatever.
the other game on Saturday was a 0-0 Pacific Forge, and it wasn't a great game.
It was not a good game.
No.
I watched most of this game, and it was very disappointing. It was like, yeah, there was not a lot of great chances created. And then there was an awkward moment at the end.
Yeah, Rion Moore got sent off, which at the time folk were like, what? But subsequent watching of the video, well, you can explain what happened, because I thought he just pulled the guy's arm back a little bit. But
so it's the 93rd minute. Forge wins a free kick just just past the center circle in the Pacific half, and who is it again? I forget the guy's name. It's Paradura. Anyways, number 17 for Forge has the ball in his hand, and Moore wants him to put on the ground for the free kick or whatever, and he goes to knock the ball away, and then when you first watch it, he's just like, oh, he knocks the ball away, because there's only one camera angle apparently of the whole thing. And he goes to knock the ball away, and you think, oh, the big deal, he's knocked the ball away, and all of a sudden the ref's giving him a red card. But when you look back at it, and I've read a little bit of people's perspective on what happened, whatever, he actually, with his left hand, Moore hits him in the chest. And so you can debate, okay, does he strike him hard or hard enough, or is it whatever? Is it not is the ref saying this is violent conduct and it's nowhere near that? Whatever, you can have your perspective on that, but at least I can understand why the ref sent him off. Basically I'm saying I don't see any way this ref the league overturns this sending off.
5 games played in the CPL, and Pacific have not given up a goal.
No.
And the only team to score against Pacific this year, because it was 0-0 in the Canadian Championship, is TSS Rovers.
I knew you were going to talk about that.
I hope they don't give up another goal now for the rest of the year, and we're the only team that's actually scored against them. But that 5 games and a Canadian Championship game without giving up a goal is tremendous.
Yeah.
Well done, TSS. And the last CPL game of the weekend, the one you were at this afternoon, VFC 1, Ottawa 1, the league leaders came to town. Now, this was a huge game for Vancouver. Yeah. They've had a tough time of it on the road after a good start at home. The worst possible team, you thought, possibly for them then to play, which was the league leaders, who have been playing some nice stuff. But it was a good game. It finished 1-1. Vancouver FC did have the ball in the net twice, but one of them was chalked off. Now, I didn't go to the game today. There was a multitude of reasons. One of them just being I've had so much on this weekend that I thought I should probably spend some time with my wife, except I got tired and fell asleep during the game, so I didn't spend any time with her. And she had a nap earlier, so we've basically not seen each other today anyway. And it wasn't that the game was boring. I've just been doing a lot. I've been working at my day job as well as doing the commentary stuff. And I thought I need a day just of quiet time to myself. I thought it's also going to be super hot out there. I was out in Cloverdale on Saturday as well, so another long drive didn't really appeal.
I'm surprised you didn't spend the night out in the valley.
I was... When I went out, I went to the Unity TSS game. It was Unity's home opener at Cloverdale. Did a good thing. The parking is not great if they want big crowds at League One, because it's such a busy complex for other stuff.
And there's 3 lots, and they're all really not great. Well, okay, before we get back to CPL, how was the TSS match?
Oh, it was good. I just went for the men's game.
They crushed, right?
They won 2-0. But they missed it was 2-0 going on 5 or 6. They missed
who got the goals?
Chances. Gurman Sanga Gurman Sanga crossed for the first one. Matteo Polisi headed home, and then Gurman Sanga got the second after missing a couple of earlier chances.
Nice.
But they easily could have won 4 or 5. So they're top 100% record from 2 games. 2 points lead with a game in hand, so fingers crossed, back to the Canadian Championship next year. Hopefully playing VFC.
That would be interesting.
See what crowd we get for that one, because your crowd today wasn't very good. How much of that was down to it being Mother's Day? How much of that was down to the heat? Because that was one of the things that put me off.
I can understand why, the 23-degree estimated temperature would put some people off, but honestly, it wasn't. Again,
It was quite bad at Cloverdale yesterday, but it was about 26. It was
I'm s-
like there
I'm
was no
someone
shade.
I'm someone who's sun sensitive. I'm not quite as bad as you, but I'm sun sensitive. But literally, I put on some sunscreen on my face, some sun on my arms. I bought a VFC bucket hat today,
Oh,
which was a reasonable price today. And they were new. It's
I like bucket
reversible.
hats.
It's reversible. Anyways, so I got that,
What
and
the other side? It's got Pacific FC.
no, oh my, no, it's black with red trim and then red with black trim. Anyways, and then there was a pink one too, actually, pink
TSS Rovers colours, yeah.
and
Take
then
TSS Rovers colours. You take BB5s. Coming into the dark side hashtag.
anyways, the heat was like I didn't notice it at all.
I thought it was going to be more than 23, to be honest. But
Actually, by the end of the game too, there were some people who are like, okay, I can only be out here so long. I'm going to go under the thing at halftime and whatever. But also at the end of the game, Michael, it was cloud cover, so it was actually not.
yeah, when I woke up from my nap, it was all grey, and I was like, "How
Yeah.
long have I been sleeping for?"
Yeah, it was whatever. Anyways, it really, really, really interesting game. There was, I think Rocco is ill, and David
Yeah,
Norman.
I didn't
David
know
Norman
why
is
he
still-
wasn't.
I think Rocco was. I heard different people saying different things. So either Rocco was ill or he's injured.
Mm.
David Norman obviously I think is not recovered from his
Yeah.
injury against Cavalry.
So that wasn't.
Same with Campagna. So that meant that left-footed Anthony White started with the brand new Alan Enyu, who's also left-footed and a bit of a beast of a center back. He
I
took
mean,
over.
I'll be honest. I was disappointed that they went for him and not Danilo Shmachenko or one of the local guys, but he did look good today.
I can see why they brought him in. Like,
Yeah.
like the dude's a
Anthony White, though, on that first goal, did not look very good.
Yeah, he did. It was interesting to hear Afshin talk about it after. A couple of things. One, you think you saw a really good moment because, well, one on the goal where he kind of stumbles and gives away possession to I think it's Tabla, and Ottawa goes in, and Tabla makes a pass and Irving makes a good save, and then the rebound comes out. Irving makes another good
Yeah,
save.
and it just happens to ricochet off
Yeah,
him and into the
and-
net.
And the third one, I think it was the third one, wasn't it? That was the third one went in. I think it was a double
Was it the
save.
third one?
Anyways,
Oh,
Uh,
yes, he saved.
two. I think he
Saved
saved
from
two.
Tabla, saved from Bassett, and then it was the third one, Del Campo.
Yeah, that's what it was. So, anyways, after all that happens, you could be angry, whatever, but no, you know what happened is Callum gets up and he goes to Anthony and he just puts his arm around him, kind of, and just says, "Look, don't worry about that. Let's just keep focused. We got whatever it is."
Oh, that's nice.
Whatever. Yeah, it was
That's a captain.
Because Afshin was asked about it after, and he said, "Look, we need to learn from our mistakes, and that's the only way." I can't remember if it was Felipe or I think it was actually someone else who asked him about, you make these mistakes, how do you get better, basically? And he's like, "Look, you got to learn from them. These mistakes are going to keep happening."
Well, it's his first appearance of
learn
the
from them.
season as well, so you are going to be
Yes.
rusty.
Yeah.
That's the
Playing
that's the
alongside
issue with these guys. It's like you're suddenly throwing them into games.
well, and playing alongside a brand new person who literally arrived this week.
Yeah,
Right. So all in all, against a formidable Ottawa attack,
Yeah.
who I think they suffered a little bit from travel, being a little bit leggy. So you had this unfortunate. I think the first half was, a bit of a wash. There was entertainment. There was, I thought the football was really good. There was comparing it to the Pacific Forge match, for example, a little bit of night and day in terms of quality. Really good chances. Both then Anthony White, we talk about him giving up the ball for the goal. He also made an incredible block on Tabla. Tabla had got in alone. Callum gets a hand to it, makes a save. It falls to Tabla. Tabla this is in the first half, like in the 30-something minute. Ball falls to Tabla. Tabla can just bury it, and White gets down and blocks it. Right, like he made some huge contributions to the game. Anyways, one of the players, and I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive on this, but one of the significant players for Vancouver FC from the get-go has been Caden Chung. And he's a dude who's I wouldn't say Caden Chung is injury prone, but he's had some significant injuries that have kept him out for long periods of time. A broken
Yeah.
collarbone, this bruise from the Voyageurs Cup didn't last long. But he made his return to the side today, and you just see he adds stability defensively and he adds options going forward. And in the second half, shortly after the conceding the goal, within whatever 10 or 15 minutes of conceding, he gets in space on the right side. He makes space for himself after receiving the ball, and puts in a beautiful cross to the back post where a almost unmarked Wiro Diaz is able to head home for the equalizer.
It was a fantastic header.
Yeah.
Of course, Chung had played a part in an earlier thing where it was 0-0, and the ball ends up in the back of the net, but it's called for a foul on Bassett, who seemed to just fall over. He tripped himself, and when I watched it on the highlights, I was like, how is that in any way, shape or form a foul on Caden?
Yeah, the referee was really poor. Was really poor.
In this CPL? Surely not.
Yeah, talk about everyone learning. The refs are learning and growing and whatever. But yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad. Like,
I don't know if the ref blew right away though.
No,
and
he
then
did.
That's why it then went into the net, because they weren't really defending it properly. So it might not have been a goal if it hadn't been blown.
I don't even remember going into net. I just
ball went into the net.
The play should have continued with because I think Caden had possession. Anyways, yeah. The referee was poor. At the end of the game, there was an incident where like almost everyone on the pitch came together. Sissoko thought he was fouled, and as he was down on the ground, he grabbed the ball with his hand, which is a booking, right?
Yeah.
He gets up, and there's a bit of what do you like to say? A skirmash? Skirmash. And as a part of this, I think it was Fry was walking away from it all, and all of a sudden Sissoko goes over to him and pushes him to the ground. And out of all of that, Sissoko gets a yellow card. And it was like, I think
there's 2 yellows there.
Yeah, there's 2 yellows there. Or you could even say if you want to be
like hands to someone, it's a straight red. So
yeah, it was a bit frustrating.
I do want to say how pleased I was that Sebastian Jakowski made his CPL debut. I know it was only 2 minutes and stoppage time, but it's great to see him make that debut, coming off a fantastic season with UBC, and we hope to catch up with Seb soon as well. So
got to meet his dad in Calgary. Drove home his golf clubs or Harley's vehicle. Yeah. When he came on, we were like excited. We're like, okay, he could make his debut could be crazy impactful, but it wasn't meant to be. And all in all, Mike, if you'd asked me, what would you hope for from this game? I think I would have taken a draw. Now the game played out, I would have been way more happy with a victory, or thought like a victory could have been possible. But I think the big thing for AFTN and for the players is that because Sissoko did also have a chance to win it at the end.
Yes.
Is that and again, Callum was man of the match for the saves he made. I don't know if you know that. But
I woke up as he was being interviewed.
Yeah. With the Gatorade towel, I believe, correct?
Yeah. See, you're noticing that now.
Sorry, yes.
I'm going to have nightmares about that towel.
I'll tell you another Gatorade towel story later. But I know. Here's the thing, right? They had this poor run of games on the road, or poor results on the road.
Yeah,
now
and some poor performances as well in them.
That's not unfair. But now they've come home, and against kind of one of the top teams in the league, the team that's probably done the biggest additions, the most daunting squad, if you will. The 7-0 league win over Valor. It was concerned that this could go really badly, right?
Yeah. But I thought it would be a multi-goal defeat today. That was another one of the reasons I was like, I'll just miss this one.
So to get a point from it, I think is encouraging.
Mm-hmm. It steadies the ship a bit, and it's something for them to build on now.
And hopefully uplifting, again, for someone like Anthony White, so some good moments, some moments learned for Alan and you dropped in at the deep end and you did quite well. So lots of, the other thing, which I don't know how much you saw this, you're another of your former TSS players, Mr. Zach Verhoeven.
I saw he was on the bench. Did he get on?
He got on, and he showed some of the reasons why they brought him. Like he danced, he made a flick or two. Like he just like
He's a
gets
player that can bring you to your feet.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so there were some flashes there where you're just like, like is he going to score? Is he going to put it in? He's going to play it in for someone. And so hopefully this is a part of him getting his match fitness and finding his place in the side and actually finding
Yeah.
best use him.
Well, that's the thing. It's like fitting all these guys in. So that was the CPL action. The big CPL story, though, for VFC this week is how we'll kind of finish off our football chat for the show. We haven't spoken about this because when it's things like this, I like to just get our first thing out there, raw and pure emotions as to how it is. So I genuinely don't know your feelings on this.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know your feelings.
Yeah. So, it was announced on Wednesday. Well, first of all, it was announced there was going to be a press conference in Kelowna on Wednesday. The amount of people that thought the team was moving there was like insane. It's like, why would they announce that mid-season and just kill your season?
A lot of people, though, who did that, Michael, don't have a pulse on this CPL, right?
It was I saw it in a Discord with CPL fans.
Okay, a lot of those people don't have a pulse on
VFC.
VFC or CPL and BC.
Okay, right. That's maybe fair. But I was like, why are folk even thinking that? Clearly, if they were going to do that, you wouldn't announce it in May because your attendance is for the rest of the year. It's like, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah. It's like if they're going to move anywhere, they're going to move from Langley to Surrey. It's basically going to be that. If they can get a proper soccer-specific stadium built, you will build it, they will come, that kind of thing. But no, it was pretty obvious to me that it was going to be the Vancouver FC were going to be playing a match in Kelowna. Now, my hope was it was going to be a friendly. I was thinking maybe they'll play a touring team that's over from England, maybe Whitecaps 2, maybe Whitecaps even, but that seemed further fetched. But I thought, they're probably going to do it, kind of get into the Kelowna soccer community to show that there's a market for football there. So then it was announced on Wednesday that a CPL game is going to be played there. And I had considered that because there was murmurs pre-season that they would maybe play a game in Kelowna, but then no more was heard of that. So I thought if it is going to be a CPL game, I bet they pick Cavalry because it's closer for Cavalry and less travel. So I'd looked at the fixtures and I thought, no, surely they wouldn't do the June 16th game with it being Father's Day. And they've already sold tickets for it. And Cavalry fans have booked flights. And some of them are bringing their fathers through for a trip to BC for Father's Day. But no.
Flights and hotel.
Flights and hotel, yes. Long story short, if you don't know what we're talking about, Vancouver FC are playing a CPL match against Cavalry in Kelowna at the Apple Bowl on June 16th as part of what we can only read into CPL on tour, and all the teams will be at some point playing a match in a different community to grow the league to other communities and to gauge interest in a CPL team coming to that community. Now, before we get Zach's view, I'll just make mine very clear. This is a bad idea. It's terrible look to do it once tickets have been sold to a game in Vancouver. It does nothing to show the interest in a CPL team because people will come all out for a one-off event that does not guarantee they're going to come for a whole season of matches. And it's basically just a kick in the face to the fans to announce this once the season has started. That's my initial thoughts on it, Zach. As a Vancouver FC supporter and season ticket holder, what are your thoughts on it?
I would say you're not wrong on any of those. I think you're right about all those things. And I, at least on some level, share exactly all of those concerns.
There's going to be a but.
No, there's not a but. I think there's more like also. I see why the league is doing this now.
I see why they're doing it as well, but I think they're wrong in what they think they're doing.
Yeah, you mean because it doesn't gauge true interest? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like saying Whitecaps are playing Wrexham because they're gauging interest in joining the English football pyramid. Obviously, it's not like that, but
No.
But no, it's like a one-off game. Like VFC could have played anyone, and they'd probably get the same crowd.
As opposed to an actual league match. I
Yeah.
hear you. Yeah, and that is definitely, it being a league match is a significant concern. I mean, from a VFC perspective or a VFC supporter perspective, home form has been significant in both seasons so
Yes.
far. And to lose a home match is significant in terms of the competitive advantage. So that is very concerning. In terms of the gauging of the interest, Mike, I don't disagree with you. I think you raise an incredibly important and valid perspective on the type of game and on it doesn't mean that, if people flock to this game, it doesn't mean that they would support a club there. I don't disagree with you. However, I would say if you are an investor or if you are working with investors and you want to see if there is viability or if there is any kind of openness to having a club there, having a game like this or a friendly or whatever can be very helpful, right? Create the buzz. Here's the thing, here's the reality, Mike. If this game does well attendance wise, right? I don't know. I can't even remember what the capacity is. Is it 5,000 or 7,000 or 6,000 or 4,000, whatever? If this game does well, that is helpful, whether right or wrong, whether true or not. It is helpful for the potential for a CPL side to come to Kelowna, right? If Michael does poorly, again, whatever those metrics might be, if it does poorly, that potentially hurts a side coming to Kelowna, right? It doesn't kill it, but it hurts it. In the same way that you could say, Michael, in the same way that the CS Saint Laurent the victory, I guess, away to the Halifax, but more so the hosting of Toronto FC, obviously an MLS club and in a competition and whatever, does boost the potential for CPL to come to, whether it's Montreal or the province of Quebec or Quebec City or whatever. That is very helpful for investors to see that there is.
What I would then say to that, though, is that is a Quebec club, or like Saint Laurent playing a home game. The way to gauge interest is you put a League One team in Kelowna and you see how that grows, how they impact the local community. Do they have a foothold in the local community? Do people turn up for it? And then if it does, you look at moving them into the CPL.
Oh,
because the CSB own both leagues, so there's an easy way to do that.
I don't disagree with you at all, Michael. I think, like I said before, I think the ground up model is better for growing the game in the long term, right? But you're dealing with certain realities. I mean, we're months removed from the whole Media Pro fiasco, where one of their concerns was, look, you promised us you were gonna grow the league and you haven't. So from the CPL's perspective, Mike, right? There's no
they need to grow the league. They need more teams.
There's no expansion sides coming in 2025, right? I think in large part due to the fact the launch of Project 8, right? You don't want to, that needs air, that needs space, right? I don't know
never
that.
thought of that, but yeah.
That's my guess. No one said that to me. That's my
no, but that's interesting,
right? So 2026, they have to be looking to add, I would say, at least 2 teams, right? Because you don't want to go back to an odd number again, and so they got to be looking to add at least 2. So this is a step to them. I think they view this as a step to them living out their long-term goal, right?
Well, according to Wiki, The capacity of the stadium is 2,314.
Right, but okay. But my understanding is too they're going to be bringing in
Yeah.
other seating.
At least it's a grass pitch.
Right, right.
A couple of things I don't like. Well, there's a lot of things I don't like about it. I don't like that it's a Father's Day game
Yeah.
because that could have been. I know today was Mother's Day and you saw the crowd, but it's like that. That could be a good marketing thing for them to get folk out to Langley. It's also played the same day that Rivers are at home in League One action. I know there's like 2 hours between Kamloops and Kelowna, but it's like you've already got soccer fans that might be wanting to go to that game. And now they might have to pick, well, do I go and watch that or do I go and watch the CPL game?
How many would that be, do you think?
Rivers get a decent crowd out. They get a few hundred.
Oh, okay. That's fair. I at the risk of sounding sexist, I think I think there are lots of mothers at the game. I mean, I connected with a number of friends who had their mothers there or their spouses there who are mothers of their children or whatever, who they came because it was Mother's Day, right? That they might not have been there otherwise, or
we have a treat for you?
Anyways, my wife came because she's a season ticket holder, right? So
yes.
she's
a mother.
And she is a mother.
Which makes you officially, I would say it.
So, so there were a number of moms there, and they worked really hard to make it a meaningful type event with different things for moms.
Yeah, I saw a pink balloon.
The flowers and the pink balloon. Yeah,
that blocked your view.
Well, you missed the little. I don't know if you missed, but the whole end. The Fanatics did all their banners in pink for this game.
Oh no,
I don't know if you saw. Oh yeah, I'll send you a thing. Some really great. Well, actually, I think Caden Chung posted on one of them. One of the banners is the New Kids on the Block. It's like a New Kids on the Block album cover, and it's like the dudes all standing. Anyways, whatever.
They say "Welcome to the Pink Side."
Yes. Well, they did that last game.
Oh, that's where I must have seen it from.
Yeah. So
that's me every summer when I go out in the heat. Welcome to the Pink Side.
Exactly. Anyways, so there
when I bend over in the shower.
There was good initiatives, but again, at the risk of sounding sexist, yeah, I think you're right. Like a Father's Day at Willoughby is potentially a bigger draw of people saying, "Hey, Dad, let's go watch the football," right?
As long as it's because it's Cavalry that they've done it, because they'll hope some Cavalry fans will make that trip and just do a shorter drive than you made.
Yeah, totally. So here's the thing. What I want to say though to Mike is that I think there's other reasons. I hope we can revisit this later at some point.
Yes, I'd like to speak to Rob about it actually and put my concerns to him about it. Yeah,
there's some perspectives I'm not going to fully share at this time, but I'll say this from from the season ticket holders and supporters and fanatics and whatever. There's quite a bit of frustration over this.
Well, I've read a lot of stuff online, and initially there wasn't going to be refunds given, but they are now giving refunds for that game.
There are now because people have demanded it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, right? Did they think fans were going to be happy with this? That's the crazy thing to me. Have they completely misjudged their fan base? To me, it's a kick in the teeth to the fans. It's like we don't really value that much. We're going to take a game away.
On some level, I don't think that's an unfair perception of this. They know that there will be some fans who will be like, yeah, we'll go. Where's the game? We'll be there, right? They know that's going to happen for some. I think maybe they thought that would happen with more. I also think that they see this as they'll tell you this is a league initiative. So this is not VFC saying, "Hey, we want to do this. We're doing this."
Yes,
it's them saying this is the league. Now you could have the conversation that this is a single entity league where the owners are run the league, right? So then, how much say does your ownership have in that? That's maybe a question we could have or a conversation we have another time. But they will definitely say to you, "Look, this is a league initiative. We're not initiating this. It's a league initiative." So if you have frustrations, the place you need to go is the league, other than the ticket demands or refund demands. But they will also say, look, we have as a club, we have the long-term perspective that we are, as you and I were talking about, I think privately about Tommy Wheeldon Jr., we are about growing the game, right? And so they would say long-term for the good of the game in the country, which therefore is for the betterment of our club in the long term. Again, that probably ties into our conversation earlier about, you know, new clubs and fees and whatever. We need more teams. And so if Kelowna is really, which it has been spoken about for a long time as a viable option, we see this as being a positive thing. We hope you'll grow the game with us in this. Now, there's conversations we'll have later, publicly, privately, whatever, about the elements of that and some of the, let's say, behind the scene details or lack thereof. But yeah, I will say that there is some extreme frustration. I think two things. One is I think some people are less frustrated now that they know that they can get a refund. I think there's some people who are less frustrated knowing that they can get a free bus to and from.
I didn't know there was a free bus.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah. Okay, so you don't get season ticket. Yeah. Okay, but no. So basically, right now, with the email that went out, the season ticket holders was, look, we're offering a bus. If you want to get on the bus, please. We don't have all the details for you now. Please fill out this thing saying you want to be on the bus. We'll have a priority list based on, you know, how people respond, and we're going to try and get everyone who wants to be there to be there. So some people were thankful for that, saying, okay, look, you know, I have a ticket for this match. They're providing a way for me to go there. That's good enough for me. I'm happy to go. But you still have some people like yourself who are wrestling with it philosophically, like, hey, how they did this after the season schedule's gone out, after people having made plans, after I made plans, after away fans have made plans. Is this really the best for my club as opposed to the league? You know, there's all these discussions.
I mean, I was missing the game anyway because I am actually commentating on the Rivers game that day. It's the game of the week. Like personally, and I don't mind saying this, and if it pisses off the folk at VFC, I'm sorry, but it's how I feel. I hope this is a massive flop. And I really hope the crowds don't turn up for it because I think it just sets a bad example, and it's not the way to go.
Yes, I think they would have a different opinion.
They will. So let's hope it flops. So if you are in the interior and you want to go and see some football that day, get yourself along to Kamloops. It's Rivers against Unity, League One BC action, double header of games. That's the only place to be. And support CSB. See, they're pitting their leagues against each other. I don't like that.
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing for me. Again, we'll talk about some of the other elements of this down the road. But like at the moment, I just said to my family, like, look, is this something we can make happen? And I actually still haven't confirmed whether or not I can make it happen because it was a Sunday afternoon game that I could go to after work. Now I need to take the day off work, which I have not confirmed yet. And I can say that because I don't think anyone who I work for listens to this.
Let's hope not.
Although, yeah, there's another story I could tell you. But anyways,
but what did you say last week? If you were a real fan of a team, you would make sure you would get to a game. You said that about the Forge fans taking a day off work to go to a morning kickoff.
No, seriously, I'm going to do what I can to get there. But there are conversations within the supporter community about, okay, how do we approach this game? Who's going? Who's not going?
Boycott it.
There are some people who have asked that question, right? Like,
I know I'm sounding like I'm being funny. I am serious. It's like, don't support this game.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And like I said, we'll talk about we'll talk about this from some other perspectives or with some more details, hopefully down the road. Unlike you, I don't want the game to be a flop. I do want the game to go well because I do want the league to grow. I would love for the league to be in Kelowna, even though it's not grassroots up and it's top down. Yeah, I don't think I've said this on the show before. I know I've said it to you. But I think I've talked about some of these things on the show in years past, definitely, is that the long term of the league is to be, you know, in the lower mainland. Obviously, they're on the island. This Kelowna thing is a part of it. There was a lot of talk about having teams in the lower mainland on both sides of the river. And I for a variety of reasons, none of which are attendance in Willoughby, there are reasons why I don't think that's going to happen in the way it was maybe they were looking for it to happen, or in the time frame that they were maybe looking for it to happen. And so again, there's lots of things there that we can't talk about now or whatever. Maybe one day we'll have deeper conversations about or whatever. But I think that makes Kelowna even more important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. If I'm picking where you want teams to be, though, like Kelowna is not up there for me. It's like you need to get in Quebec, you need to be in, ideally, Saskatchewan, get Edmonton back. They should all be above Kelowna. But of course, it depends who is prepared to pony the money up.
But to be fair, Michael, all those places are in the conversation for the league to expand or return to or expand to, right? And you know that in Saskatchewan they're dealing with some litigation issues that I don't know. I don't know how that impacts things.
No, I haven't heard any more about that.
In Saskatoon, or in a place like Regina, where you've heard different rumblings about what could happen in Regina. The league wants to return to Edmonton. Mark Noonan, I think, said to you and has said to others that he wants that. And Quebec has been a priority from the beginning. It's just there hasn't been someone who has been able to say, I not only do I have the idea,
I'll lose a fortune.
I have the money to make it happen in the short term and in the long term, right?
Plus, they have to get into Charlottetown and PEI, so I can move there and
retire.
Yeah, have a nice club to go and watch.
And what about Newfoundland, Labrador?
I wouldn't mind that.
Talk about travel costs.
Could have a St. John's Derby if we could get one in New Brunswick as well.
Oh yeah, it'd be lovely.
Oh yeah, travel costs. Having priced out a trip there, it's like that would be horrendous.
I did not ask the details. One of our dudes just posted, Sean Walker, who came with us on the first drive to Calgary. He just posted he booked a flight for the Halifax game for about 4 or 5 days for under $500.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I got to ask him the details on that. Not that I can make it happen, but
that's good.
One can dream, right?
Well, that is it for our CPL chat. I think when I said at the start of the show this wasn't going to be a 3-hour podcast, that has not proved to be the case. I had hoped to be in bed an hour ago, since I'm up early for work tomorrow. So let's wrap things up now. And we started this podcast on Mother's Day. So I thought, I'll bring a special mother-related song for Wavelength. We all love soccer mums, don't we, Zach? Youth football would not operate without their commitment to running their children all over the place, their support.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. So, got a song about soccer mums.
Is it a good kind of song, or is it?
It's an interesting one. It's by Portland band Everclear, taken from their 2003 album, Slow Motion Daydream. And it's about soccer mums, and they were wild when they were younger, maybe even a little bit promiscuous. But now, they're respectable soccer mums. This is Everclear, Volvo Driving Soccer Mum.
You know I used to be a bad girl. I got busy in the bathroom at my high school prom. Yeah, I used to be a dancer at the local strip club, but now I know my right wing from my wrong. I really used to be a bad girl. I had a threesome with my sister and her boyfriend Tom. I know I used to be a all the porn stars go. 'Cause when you need one, they are never around. I think they moved out to the suburbs, and now they're blonde, bland, middle-class Republican wives. They all have blonde, bland, middle-class Republican children. Blonde, bland, middle-class Republican lives. Where do all the porn stars go when the lights go down? Yeah, I think I know where all the porn stars go. They all become rubber-driving soccer moms. 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 Rubber-driving soccer moms.
Everclear there, a Volvo driving soccer mum. We love the soccer mums. If you're one, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Come and say hi at one of the games.
Oh my goodness.
But that is it now for the show. Anything caught your eye this week to round things up?
I mean, we already had the important Bundesliga talk.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that anymore. But we should touch on St. Pauli.
St. Pauli returning to the Bundesliga, finishing ahead of Hamburg. Doesn't look. I can't remember the stat. I don't think Hamburg's even make the playoff, which they've been really bad at. But yeah, St. Pauli's back up. Holstein Kiel is coming to the Bundesliga. Darmstadt's going down, and there's still some drama left in the
Darmstadt's
Bundesliga.
going down. You're going down. That sounds like a song.
It does. But there's still some drama left on the final week in the Bundesliga. Plus, if Dortmund beat Real Madrid and the referees in the Champions League final, then they will, I think, supposedly
Oh, is this your extra spot?
secure a sixth spot for Germany. So Germany and Italy have 5,
So
and this could get
stupid.
Germany a sixth, which I would love it just for that. Although it does mean, I think it might mean that Hoffenheim makes Europe, which I don't really love, but yeah.
Stupid. If you want drama, A-League semi-finals took place this past
Oh.
weekend. Now, admittedly, the Wellington Phoenix game against Melbourne victory was very boring, that I stayed up until 2 o'clock last night to watch. But the second leg goes on Friday, 11:30 p.m. Pacific time, live and free on YouTube in Wellington. Cheer on the Kiwis, get them to the A-League final. They've had a fantastic season. Aside from that, get out and watch some League One action. Burnaby FC take on the Whitecaps at Burnaby Lake on Wednesday night. The men go at 5:30, the women, I think, at 8, maybe 8:30. And then game of the week is at TSS on Friday night. TSS Rovers home opener at Swangard, 6 o'clock. Altitude women take on TSS, and then the men go at 8:30. We'll have the commentary on the League One BC channel for game of the week, but if you can get there in person, go and do that and support League One. But that is it for the show. Thank you for being with us. It's been another long one, but until next week, take care and Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story, let's take this thing
AFTN.